Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Super God Accelerator. Chapter 61. Muir hasn't slept yet, Old Man Chin said with a smile after he looked around and saw no one was there, but there was a stiff smile on his face, and he couldn't hide that he had something on his mind. People in Martial Dao always sleep late. Chin Mu didn't point out, pretending that he didn't see it, and was happy to play with Old Man Chin. So that's how it is. The Old Man Chin looked stunned, and then said casually, "You are the deputy sect leader of the Lai Yangzong, your strength should be very good, right?" This. Chin Mu's heart froze for a moment. It was hard for him to answer this question, but he could guess what was on Old Man Chin's mind. Maybe it had something to do with his strength, and he stopped acting with Old Man Chin, so he immediately asked, "Did the Chin family encounter any difficulties? Tell me directly. In my Lai Yangzong's 1-acre 3-point land, there is nothing that can stop me. See the black-clothed guards who have been guarding me outside the door. Any one of them can walk sideways in the territory of Fengguo. Even 10 of Fengguo's strongest Zhengguo practitioners can't beat any of them." Quote. The Old Man Chin was shocked and relieved when he heard it. He didn't know how powerful the Liang sect was, and he had never heard of it, but he did know the Zhengguo practitioner. In fact, the Zhengguo practitioner was the strongest in a country's dynasty. The former is the treasure of the royal family's township. As long as there is no accident to the practitioner of the township, then it can be said that the royal family can sit firmly in the country, and no one or force can resist. In many legendary novels describing the change of dynasties, the end of a dynasty is typically marked by the fall of the Zhengguo practitioner. But now, Chin Mu said that any of the guards around him can fight 10 of these practitioners. Master Chin couldn't bear the excitement in his heart, and exclaimed, "Muir, you are really promising." It's okay, it's just that the sect leader elder in the door is worried about my safety, so he sent these people to protect me." Chin Mu shook his hand modestly, and laughed at himself. "I can't even afford to support myself, how can I support so much? How skilled are you?" Old Man Chin didn't care, so what if he wasn't his own private soldier? Being able to bring out the sect and use it as your own private soldier is a skill. Thinking of these dozens of them, each of whom could be protected by a black suit of 10 practitioners, Old Man Chin no longer had any worries, and immediately said solemnly, "My Chin family has enemies, countless children of the Chin family, they all died at the hands of this enemy, and more importantly, this matter has something to do with you, Muir." "It has something to do with me." Chin Mu was taken aback for a moment, then his face darkened, and he gradually had an answer in his heart. "That's right. You only know that your parents died very early and you grew up in the clan, but no one has ever told you the truth about your parents' death." Old Man Chin nodded, his eyes were red, filled with hatred and tension flashed. "No one told you before, that's because this enemy is not something we can offend, even my Chin family is dead, I dare not announce it, for fear of being discovered by them, and it will lead to cutting grass and rooting out." "Who is this enemy?" Chin Mu clenched his fists tightly. Although the Old Man Chin spoke only a few words, he could clearly feel how boiling and terrifying the hatred in the Old Man Chin's heart was. What's more, the parents of the original owner of his body died at the hands of this enemy. The body matter is his Chin Mu's matter, how can he ignore it? For a moment, I felt the same with Old Man Chin, and hatred and anger were brewing in my heart. 5 tigers of Black Mountain. Old Man Chin quickly reported the names of the enemies. It was just that Chin Mu was taken aback when he heard that. He thought that the enemy was a big family in Fengguo, but he didn't expect that they were some bandits. A person who can take such a title, what else is he other than banditry? The 5 tigers of Black Mountain make a living by plundering and killing countless people. This is a den of robbers. Among them, the 5 tigers are the most famous because they are powerful and ruthless. I don't know how many people were tortured and killed by them. There are many cases of massacring families. In addition, they are entrenched in the dangerous Black Mountain, and the government has always had nothing to do with them. He is ruthless, powerful, and vengeful, so that everyone is afraid and dare not mention them at all. Outsiders don't know them, but the victims can't take revenge on them, so they keep doing evil, but they survived happily. Nowadays in Zhongyang City, I don't know how many people hate and fear the 5 tigers. Back then your parents were traveling with a caravan. On the way, they met 5 tigers from Haishan, and they were brutally killed. They were like weeds on the road. The 5 tigers didn't even know who they killed, and my Qin family even reported the news that they were killed by the 5 tigers. Don't even dare. Speaking of this, the old man Qin was already in tears. His face was full of overwhelming hatred and his own incompetence. He couldn't even declare the 5 tigers of Haishan as enemies, and he was extremely aggrieved. Suffering such a great aggrieved heart all the time, hiding such a great hatred, but not going crazy, even Qin Mu couldn't help admiring old man Qin in his heart. Sure enough, the world is so big, capable people come forth in large numbers. Although the old man Qin is a common man, his forbearance kung fu is far, far beyond the common people. The 5 tigers of Black Mountain, right? Qin Mu didn't comfort the old man Qin, but murmured to himself with a cold expression on his face, "Meet me, Qin Mu, your good days are coming to an end." Immediately shouted outside the door, "Where is Lin Yun? Big brother." The door opened wide, and Lin Yun's figure quietly appeared. "Go and invite the city lord Zhang Yang." Qin Mu ordered with a blank face, and Lin Yun immediately understood what he meant. The word please means to invite him no matter what means. Immediately nodded. Lin Yun takes orders. Late at night, Zhang Yang's city lord's mansion. The city lord of Zhongyang had been busy all day. His eyes were fighting. He took off his official clothes, hugged the concubine who had just entered the room, and was about to fall asleep happily. Unexpectedly, the door of the room was suddenly opened wide, and before he could react, a sharp sword lay across his neck, scaring him into a cold sweat, and his soul flew out of his mind. "Master Zhang Yang, senior brother welcomes you," the visitor said coldly, without any gauze covering his face. City Lord Zhang Yang felt a chill in his heart. He thought that the visitor was going to kill someone to silence him, but he didn't know that the visitor actually said this. Then he took a closer look at the person, and suddenly understood, with a look of joy on his face. "So it is Mr. Qin, please wait a moment, young man, I will come as soon as I go." The person who came was Lin Yun, who was ordered by Qin Mu to invite City Lord Zhang Yang. He didn't know what the elder brother was going to do, but since the death order was issued for him, it must be urgent. There was no time for the City Lord Zhang Yang to dress. He dragged the City Lord Zhang Yang away, like a wild goose, jumping over the City Lord's mansion at an extremely fast speed. The City Lord of Zhongyang, who was stripped off, was woken up by the cold wind. Although he knew that the person who invited him was Mr. Qin, a great figure of the Liang sect whom he had met during the day, but this kind of invitation made him feel so uncomfortable. Can't help thinking a little too much. Thinking hard in my mind, did I offend the Qin family somewhere? Now that Qin Mu is back, the Qin family will sue him. Thinking of this, his whole body softened a little, like a boneless snake. Lin Yun couldn't help but snorted, with a hint of disdain on his face. But he didn't care about the performance of the city lord Zhang Yang. He walked towards Qin's house like dragging a dead dog. With Lin Yun's current strength, the speed is frighteningly fast for ordinary people. The city of Zhongyang was not big, and there was almost no time for half a stick of incense, so he ran back and forth to invite the lord of Zhongyang back to the Qin family. Looking at the distressed appearance of the city lord Zhongyang, Qin Mu could imagine without thinking how he was invited by Lin Yun. However, he did not reprimand Lin Yun. He can be polite to anyone, but he will never be polite to officials. I didn't bother to talk too much with City Lord Zhongyang, so I asked directly, "Let me ask you, have you heard of the 5 tigers of Black Mountain?" The 5 tigers of Black Mountain. City Lord Zhongyang found out that he was not looking for trouble for himself, and he felt relieved at once, but he quickly realized that he was shocked and said in a voiceless voice, "Young Master Qin is going to trouble the 5 tigers of Black Mountain." "Very good, it seems that you understand." Qin Mu clapped her palms and laughed, looking at City Lord Zhongyang with extremely unfriendly eyes. City Lord Zhang Yang's scalp was numb from being stared at, his heart was pounding, he was so frightened that he was half dead, and immediately knelt down in front of Qin Mu and shouted, "Young Master Qin, I have nothing to do with the 5 Black Mountain tigers." "Very well, I won't call myself out." Qin Mu sneered, his eyes getting colder and colder. "I just suspected that the 5 tigers in Montenegro are just troubled by bandits, and they have been happy for decades without incident. How could they have no official face covered by the characters on it?" When Zhang Yang heard this, his heart skipped a beat. He secretly yelled that he was done, but he said the wrong thing. He kowtowed his head on the ground a few times, and shouted with a grievance on his face, You were wronged, you were really wronged, Mr. Qin. 5 tigers of Haishan that needs a human cover, they have this strength. Although the Black Mountain 5 tigers have a great reputation, they are only a few body-forging realms, but they can't hold back the Black Mountain 5 tigers. There are people behind them. There are experts in the Blood Qi realm among them. Even the practitioner of our Feng kingdom, I can't help it. The flustered city lord Zhongyang could no longer hide what was on his mind, and vomited out everything he knew. If Qin Mu asks him to identify people now, Qin Mu has no doubt that the city lord of Zhongyang will bite out all the people he knows like a mad dog. However, Qin Mu wasn't interested in this. With an angry look on his face, he scolded, "You, since there is such a strong man in Fengguo, why don't you report to my Lai Yangzong?" This, city lord Zhongyang was dumbfounded. He really didn't know how to answer. Although Li Yangzong is the supreme emperor of Fengguo, the Fengguo court would not like Li Yangzong to take care of everything. This is a well-known secret. And Qin Mu's anger is more justified. Including Fengguo, the other 4 countries, a total of 5 countries, are the basic base of Lai Yangzong. The base area has been ruled for 10,000 years. It is absolutely impossible for him to make trouble here. To the outside world, it is said that the Liang sect is subordinate to the 6 countries, and the last country is actually just a conversation. The Liang sect just divided up a lot of resource points during the war against the Ziyang sect decades ago. In that one, there are other sect forces, it's an enclave, and it's extremely chaotic. Ziyang sect was defeated, and their several alliances naturally disintegrated, and began to fight openly and secretly. It's no big deal if that enclave is lost, but if it's Fengguo, even if it's not lost, being disrupted and disrupting the order would be a traumatic event for the Lai Yangzong. Hearing what city lord Zhongyang said, Qin Mu immediately realized that these nonsense Black Mountain 5 tigers are simply nails inserted by other sects. But such an obvious nail, because of the concealment of Fengguo, no one mentioned it, and it has been at ease for decades, and Lai Yangzong still doesn't know about it. If it weren't for this time, the old man Qin told him, Qin Mu would never have found out that Fengguo was infiltrated and riddled with holes. This is by no means Qin Mu exaggerating the facts, but this is the truth. The Black Mountain 5 tigers were just cannon fodder pushed out to stand on the bright side to attract firepower, but even so, the Lai Yangzong hadn't discovered it yet. What about the one hidden in the dark? Just thinking about it makes Qin Mu's scalp tingle. Tell me all the information you know about the 5 tigers of Montenegro right away. Angry in his heart, Qin Mu naturally would not be polite. As if confessing, he pressed Zhongyang for everything he knew about the 5 tigers of Montenegro. After city lord Zhongyang had finished speaking, Qin Mu looked at Lin Yun and the others. When he was pressuring city lord Zhongyang, the dozens of stewards guarding him heard them all, and everyone's faces turned black. Speaking of which, whether the Liang sect is external or internal, they are the stewards of Blood Qi Da returned to origin. Although it is the elders of the refinement realm who make the decisions, they are the ones who do the work. The 5 tigers of Haishan, such an obvious hidden pile, have been free for decades, and they didn't realize that they are responsible for this matter. One day when the 5 tigers of Montenegro are free and easy is to slap them in the face for one day. Young sect leader, I'm going to pull out the 5 Black Mountain tigers. A grumpy steward asked Qin Mu for orders with a dark face. Don't worry. Qin Mu shook his hand, and said in a low voice, now that we understand that Fengguo is riddled with infiltration, Fengguo needs to be sorted out. Qin Mu's words were very plain, but in the ears of the city lord Zhongyang, it seemed that he had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. Fengguo sorted it out carefully. The meaning of this sentence was clearly that, from Fengguo to everyone, the heads of the people who were afraid to be killed were rolling, and the blood flowed like rivers. Keep your eyes open. Feng country is infiltrated and riddled with holes. What will happen to the other 4 countries? I'm afraid it won't be much better, right? Qin Mu said with a bit of heartache. The situation is very pessimistic, senior brother they. Everyone was silent. Qin Mu didn't care what they thought. Anyway, he came down to make trouble, and now he has finally seized the opportunity, so why not take the opportunity to make matters worse? There is nothing to say. Catch the small fish, chase the line, and fight to the death. Where is Lin Yun? Suddenly Qin Mu changed the subject and called for Lin Yun loudly. Big brother. Lin Yun was overjoyed. He knew Qin Mu very well, and immediately knew what Qin Mu wanted to do, so he stood up immediately. You're like this. Qin Mu whispered a few words to Lin Yun, but others didn't know what he was talking about, but Lin Yun nodded heavily, with a serious expression on his face. Then Qin Mu ordered the stewards, go to some of you and bring me the heads of the 5 tigers of Black Mountain. This operation is all under Lin Yun's orders. Qin Mu is not only a minor sect leader, but also a veritable deputy sect leader. How can these stewards not listen to what he said? And they all nodded. Even 7 or 8 people followed Lin Yun on their horses and headed straight for Montenegro. Seeing Lin Yun and the others leave, Qin Mu looked at the city lord Zhang Yang, who was paralyzed by fright, and said, "You have wronged the city lord. For the sake of keeping things secret, you can't leave until you see the heads of the 5 black tigers." Yes, yes, yes. City lord Zhang Yang nodded repeatedly, but in fact he couldn't do anything other than nod. In the eyes of the people of Zhongyang, he, the city lord of Zhongyang, was a powerful figure. But in front of the disciples of Liang sect, what kind of fart is it? Not to mention, it was still in front of Qin Mu, a big figure from the Liang sect. Mu'er, the Black Mountain 5 tigers have a lot of people, and there are less than 10 of them, so nothing will happen, right? Old man Qin asked a little nervously. Don't worry, although they are not very good, they are more than enough to take the heads of the 5 tigers of Heishan. Qin Mu smiled lightly, and said confidently, wait, before dawn, you will see the 5 tigers of Heishan head. Old man Qin nodded suspiciously, although he knew that Qin Mu was the deputy sect leader of La Yangzong, with great power and many capable people under him. But after all, the Black Mountain 5 tigers had feared him for decades, and the shadow in his heart was too great, and he couldn't change it for a while. Qin Mu didn't say anything to comfort him anymore, because no matter how much he said, it didn't make it more convincing to put the heads of the 5 tigers of Heishan in front of old man Qin. He narrowed his eyes slightly, thinking about his next move. Montenegro is one of the few mountains with demonic beasts in Fengguo. In this world, sects generally sit in the mountains where demonic beasts gather. While shearing the wool of the subordinate countries, they are also protecting them. The demonic beasts in Black Mountain can be swept away by any disciple of the Blood Qi realm, so naturally they are not valued by the Liang sect. But for many common people in Fengguo, Montenegro is a forbidden area. Fengguo doesn't know how many criminals, once they hide in the Black Mountain, they will be safe, and the government has nothing to do with them. Over time, a large number of desperados gathered in Montenegro. The mountains are far away from the human world, but the people in Montenegro also want to live a good life, drinking in big bowls and eating meat in big bowls. As a result, many bandits, big and small, made a living by robbery, and they came down the mountain to harass them from time to time, but this was just a small fight, not the government's attention. It wasn't until decades ago that the 5 tigers suddenly rose to dominate Montenegro, and the reputation of the 5 tigers of Montenegro gradually spread and became louder and louder. After the government launched an encirclement campaign but failed miserably, the entire Fengguo fell silent, and the words, Black Mountain 5 tigers, were never mentioned again. On this day, there were very few people on weekdays, and there was no one to see for most of the day. On the trail of Black Mountain, a group of cavalry with less than 10 riders went straight to the main peak of Black Mountain at night. People looking at the main peak of Montenegro under the shadow of the moonlight, the dim lights could be seen swaying under the mountain wind, as if they were about to go out. Lin Yun said to Kibiki behind him with a serious face, "You all understand the order of the elder brother, the others can be let go, only the heads of the 5 tigers in Heishan, we must take them." Just take the heads of the 5 tigers of Montenegro, is there a problem? No problem, Kibichi replied in a cold voice behind him. His attitude could not be described as unresolute, and the killing intent all over his body was about to burst out. Today, the position of the elder brother is in a detached position in the Liang sect. Although they don't know much about the affairs, but seeing the flattering attitude of the elder sect leaders towards the elder brother, they know that in the Liang sect, you can offend anyone but you must not offend eldest brother. And if you want to get to the top as soon as possible, then you just need to hug the elder brother's thigh tightly. Look at Lin Yun for being typical. Lin Yun's cultivation base of the first stage of the Blood Qi realm is even capable of leapfrogging the Blood Qi third stage, or even the fourth stage. But in the eyes of the stewards of Blood Qi Big Return to Origin, what kind of fart is that? These true disciples on weekdays are all indifferent. But now, Lin Yun directed them directly, and they didn't dare to say no at all. This is the most direct expression of hugging the big brother's thigh. But today, they have lost face in front of the elder brother. If the elder brother thinks that they are incompetent, then they will have no future in the future. Even if one is lucky enough to reach the aperture refinement realm and become an elder, there is no future. What's the point of offending a senior brother and becoming a refining elder without real power? They had long been simmering with anger in their hearts, and they didn't dare to rush towards Qinmu, nor did they dare to rush towards Lin Yun, so the Black Mountain Five Tigers were naturally the most suitable targets for them to vent their anger. Kill. Receiving the response, Lin Yun was a little high-spirited, waved his big hand, and shouted in a cold voice. As soon as Lin Yun finished speaking, before Lin Yun could react, 7 or 8 blood cheetah returned to origin stewards rushed forward like sharp arrows behind him, and entered the cottage. Although Lin Yun's speed is very fast, compared with the stewards of blood cheetah returned to origin, he is far behind. When he hurried to catch up, all the bandits at the gate of the village were wiped out. His head was cut off with a knife, and the head was divided into 2 parts, which was terrible. But after killing the gate of the cottage, they didn't even make a sound. The 7 or 8 stewards went straight to the depths of the cottage, leaving no survivors wherever they passed, and all of them were killed. Lin Yun didn't have the chance to play at all, he could only look at the corpses from behind. After seeing too much, he couldn't help but feel chills in his heart, and muttered to himself, all these managers are killing gods. After killing all the way to the depths of the stockade, only then did the sound come out. It was these stewards who saw the target right, and just as they took the heads of the 5 tigers of Black Mountain, they woke up one person, and this person was obviously a blood chi environment existence. With a little bit of resistance, yes, he roared before dying. It woke up the sleeping people in the entire cottage. Many bandits came, but saw the heads of their 5 chiefs being held in their hands. How could they dare to make a mistake, and they all screamed miserably, the 5 chiefs are dead, dead, all dead. The enshrinement is also dead. There were also those who didn't believe in evil and wanted to avenge their 5 chiefs. How could they know that dozens of people rushed up, just delivering food, and they were all killed by 7 or 8 stewards? And Lin Yun finally had a chance to get a lot of heads. The rest of the bandits were so frightened that their souls flew into the sky, and they scattered and fled desperately. 7 or 8 stewards frantically pursued and killed them. They chased and killed them for half a stick of incense before they came back. There were only a few bandits who could escape. Nearly thousands of bandit dens were almost wiped out. Okay, the heads of the 5 Black Mountain Tigers have been taken, and even the people behind them have been killed. Our mission is over. Let's see if there is anything that can identify the person. Lin Yun stopped killed by stewards. As expected, the Blood Chi Realm expert they killed didn't have anything on him that could prove his identity. At that time, the stewards were also jealous, and they were hacked to death before they had time to see what martial art he had learned. Forget it if you don't see it, cut off his head, and take them back together to report to the senior brother. Lin Yun quickly made a decision, and immediately ordered the stewards to return, riding the dragon horse of 1,000 miles of blood, at a fast speed. Just as they came in a hurry, they left in a hurry, leaving behind a lot of corpses. Late at night, in the Qin mansion, the bright moon has not yet set. Brother, Lin Yun and the others are back. Butler Niu excitedly rushed into the brightly lit room and reported to Qin Ming. Before Qin Ming could say anything, they saw Lin Yun and his group walking in with blood chi soaring into the sky, holding 6 heads in their hands, and bowed to Qin Mu. Eldest brother, I will wait for you to live up to the order of the elder brother, has taken the heads of the 5 tigers of Haishan and is here to report back to the elder brother. Good job. Qin Mu gave a compliment, making all the stewards who were tense in their hearts smile. And Qin Mu also looked at those heads, and only said to old man Qin, go and see, is it the head of the 5 tigers of Haishan? The old man Qin didn't say anything else, he went forward directly, grabbed each head and looked at them carefully. The way he looked at them was like looking at rare treasures, which made people's hair stand on end. After watching for half a stick of incense, the old man Qin suddenly burst out laughing, as if insane, and suddenly tears came out of his eyes while smiling. Seeing everyone looking at him strangely, he blushed and said with some embarrassment, I'm sorry, I'm so happy to see the 5 tigers of Black Mountain conferring their heads. Everyone showed understandable expressions. Old Man Chin nodded to Chin Mu. It can be confirmed that 5 of the heads are indeed the 5 tigers of Montenegro, and the last head. It's the Blood Chi Realm Master behind the Black Mountain 5 tigers. City Lord Zhang Yang, who was paralyzed on the ground, stood next to the Blood Chi Realm Master's head at some point, shouting excitedly. Chin Mu looked at Lin Yun curiously, and Lin Yun quickly replied, "This person suddenly appeared after killing the 5 tigers of Haishan, but he didn't cause any serious trouble." Chin Mu nodded, but he didn't ask about the specific situation. He sat on the chair and pondered, and then said to Old Man Chin, "From today onwards, everyone in the Chin family will evacuate." Evacuate? Old Man Chin was dumbfounded. Chin Mu just explained a little bit. Soon, the Chin mansion will become a battlefield. You and your clansmen will quietly evacuate with Steward Niu. The place to evacuate is the Liang sect. Anyway, I can place it in the demonic Niu Peak. Down. As soon as he heard that everyone in the Chin family had all evacuated to the Liang sect, the Old Man Chin was too happy, so why would he care so much? Nodding heavily. Okay. Chin Mu immediately looked at Steward Niu and said, "You have made arrangements for the people of the Chin family." "Yes, young sect leader." Steward Niu nodded quickly, patted his chest and was about to express his attitude and determination, but Chin Mu interrupted him immediately. Then he looked at Lin Yun and said, "Junior brother Lin, I need you to go one more time. It's a long way to go. The safety of the Chin family is up to you." "Brother, you're welcome." Lin Yun hurriedly saluted. In fact, he knew very well in his heart that the Chin family would soon start a big battle, and that level was not something he could participate in. Chin Mu asked him to leave just for his own good. It's just that he is still a little unwilling, and only hates that his strength is still too weak, and he can't help the big brother at the critical moment. After arranging all the affairs, Chin Mu sneered slightly. "The bureau has been set, it depends on whether you come or not." In the deepest part of Montenegro, where the legendary demonic beasts run rampant, there is a cave that looks like a demonic beasts on the outside, but in fact there is a universe inside, and the entire mountainside has been hollowed out. There are many people living in it, busy doing all kinds of own things. Suddenly one person opened the bamboo tube, took out a note, and after reading the contents, he yelled, "At noon tonight, the 5 tigers of Haishan were leveled, blood flowed into rivers, bones piled up like a mountain, and all the corpses fell to the ground. Few escaped. Report to the elder immediately." Immediately, a person who looked like a head grabbed the note and went straight to the depths of the cave. Deep inside a man-made immortal cave, a majestic old man sat quietly at the desk, squinting his eyes slightly, listening to the footsteps, without raising his eyelids. "What's the matter?" Report to elder. The 5 tigers of Black Mountain were trampled down at noon tonight, and the Blood Chi Realm disciple who was photographed was also killed. The leader of the report quickly and respectfully replied. "Did someone from the Liang sect find out?" the elder asked softly. "Yes and no," the little boss replied after hesitating for a moment. Elder opened his eyes, with a cold glint in them. The little boss quickly lowered his head and replied, "According to the news from the outside, the suspected true disciple of the Liang sect in Zhongyang City went back to his hometown to visit relatives yesterday. As we all know, the 5 tigers of Haishan seem to have killed many members of the Qin family in the past few decades, and Haishan is not too far from Zhongyang City, so it is very likely that it is his revenge. HMPH, little disciple of the Liang sect, if you dare to offend my tiger beard, you are looking for death." The elder snorted coldly, as if he didn't hear the word possible that the little boss said, and ordered lightly, "Multiple sects. Let someone go and bring his head. No one will be left alive in the Qin family." The little boss immediately showed hesitation when he heard this. Elder's tiger eyes stared, and the fierce light appeared. "No one listens to what the old man said, right? Don't dare not." The little boss quickly shook his head and raised his hand to swear. "Little one, go now, order someone to be sent immediately." HMPH. Seeing the little boss leave, the elder snorted coldly, with a very displeased look on his face. "It's really a tiger in Pyongyang being bullied by dogs. If I go back to sect and slander my villain, the old man will kill you all." Qin Mansion. Qin Mu moved a chair and sat at the entrance of the Qin Mansion. Dozens of Blood Chi's big return to origin stewards stood aside in 2s and 3s, their movements sluggish, their aura and sharpness all restrained. Underneath, it is impossible to tell that these dozens of people are all masters of blood chi great return to origin. These were the only people left in the entire Qin mansion, and the rest of the Qin mansion followed Steward Niu and had all evacuated under the protection of Lin Yun. Originally, people from the Qin family were unwilling to evacuate. Zhang Yang lived in a good city, so why evacuate? But when they heard that they were moving to the Liang sect, everyone agreed without saying a word, gone. Even the old man Qin didn't tell them that this was an evacuation at all, but told them to move to the Liangzong, and whoever left late would not be allowed. How could anyone dare to procrastinate? They were all like mad dogs, rushing towards the Liangzong, even more terrifying than the speed of fleeing for their lives. The people in the Qin residence had all evacuated, so Qin Mu naturally didn't have any worries, he could start troubles. The reason why people are so sure that someone will come is because of the strong revenge of the people behind the 5 tigers of Black Mountain. It can be seen from the behavior of slaughtering families at every turn that this is a group of bloodthirsty people. Even if they didn't want to come for revenge, Qin Mu believed that if he let them know that he was here, those people would definitely come. Although the fact that he is the deputy sect leader of the Fiery Sun sect has not been announced yet, his status as the only core disciple of the Fierce Sun sect will definitely tempt many people. Simply put, he's fishing for law enforcement. Although he wants to make troubles, and he still wants to make big things, but he can't start a sect war for no reason, right? At this time, one person's reason or excuse is needed. With this excuse, the sect war can be started. Otherwise, if the sect is wronged and the sect invites a more powerful sect to judge, it will be completely Sparta. Occupy righteousness and declare yourself a teacher of justice, which is needed in any world. He sat at the gate of the Qin mansion to see who would come. It didn't disappoint him either. Less than a day later, when the night came, a group of people in night clothes came to the door. Under the moonlit night, the man held a blood-red sword in his hand, and the smell of blood was extremely pungent. Seeing this blood-red saber, Qin Mu immediately understood that the only one holding a blood-red saber is the Blood Daemon. The Blood Knife sect is a bit like a cult, except that there is no distinction between good and evil in this world, but the people in this sect are famous for their cruel methods. And the vengeance is very strong. If you offend one, you can draw a group out. It is the most feared one among all the nearby sects. This sect is powerful, even higher than the strength of the Liang sect, and ranks in the upper rank of the yellow rank. Qin Mu has also read various information from the Liang sect that this sect is extremely aggressive. It started a war with another sect a few years ago, and it is still in a state of war now, but it is not as intense. It's just that he didn't expect that Shuidemon's ambitions would be so great. They had planted hidden stakes on the Liangzong's territory decades ago. In less than a day, they could get the 5 tigers of Haishan wiped out, and then mobilize dozens of people. A master of the blood environment came. It is conceivable how powerful the Blood Knife sect has deployed on the territory of the Liang sect. Even more frightening, they are in a situation of going to war with other sects. I thought I could catch a big fish, but I didn't expect to catch a shark. Qin Mu has 10,000 alpacas running past in his heart. Blood Knife Gate. A look of panic appeared on Qin Mu's face, but it quickly disappeared without a trace. Knowledgeable. The leader sneered. He could already see the panic on Qin Mu's face. Hearing this, Qin Mu rolled his eyes. Holding the blood knife, the iconic weapon of the Blood Knife Gate, and wearing night clothes, these people are really arrogant. He doesn't think that these people wear night walkers to cover their eyes and ears. Since it's not covering people's eyes and ears, it's making a high profile, such as walking down the street with Yiming pearls at night. The behavior is exactly the same. I didn't expect that the 5 tigers of Haishan turned out to be members of your blood sword sect. Qin Mu sighed. Now I know, it's too late. The leader of the Shuidao sect snorted coldly, and shouted angrily, "Little Liang sect disciple, you have such a guts, you dare to offend my Shuidao sect, you will die today." Immediately afterwards, he ordered loudly, "Pass on the elder's order, and the Qin family will not leave any chickens or dogs behind. Kill." As soon as the word, "kill," was exited, dozens of Blood Chi realm masters from the Shuidao sect drew their swords one after another. Blood radiated from the swords, and the killing intent was overwhelming. It's just that there was a sneer in Qin Mu's eyes, and he shook his head with a lifeless look on his face. It's just boring. Immediately stood up, but did not make a move, but walked slowly to the depths of the Qin mansion with dozens of Shuidao sect members on his back. A faint voice came from his mouth. Let's make a move, no matter how small a mosquito is, it is still meat. Quote. Yes, less sect leader. Dozens of blood cheese big return to origin stewards who had been impatient for a long time jumped out immediately. All of them showed hideous expressions, all of them erupted with terrifying energy and blood, like a stormy sea. Gearing up and grinning ferociously, he looked at dozens of disciples of the blood knife sect who came to kill them aggressively with knives. Blood Chi Da returned to origin. All of them. Oops, I fell for it. The disciples of the blood knife sect were dumbfounded. They held the blood knives high and stagnated in midair, slashing or not. Their faces no longer had the previous killing intent soaring to the sky, and they all showed panic, fear and uneasiness. Like a weak little lamb. Ha ha ha, look at the faces of these fools from the blood sword sect, it's so funny. They don't know who their opponent is. How arrogant. Ha ha, isn't this good? Before the big battle, you can still kill a few brats from the blood knife sect. La Yeel. I'm too embarrassed to do this, group of weak little chicks. Hey, look, there's another guy who pissed his pants in fear. Ha ha ha, is this still an arrogant and ruthless disciple of the blood knife sect? It can't be a fake, right? If you are a big-headed ghost, if you are surrounded by dozens of big men with blood chi big return to origin, let's see if you will be scared to pee your pants. Good jow. A group of stewards from blood chi da returned to origin were not in a hurry, pointing at a group of blood knife sect disciples and smiling. To be honest, in the small Fengguo, the strength of dozens of blood chi realm masters is already very good, and there is no force in Fengguo that can stop them. But, who would have thought that they would meet dozens of blood chi big return to origin at once? The disciples of the blood knife sect were heartbroken, and the leader blushed even more, cursing angrily, despicable and shameless. With a face full of grievances like a little daughter-in-law. It's just that the stewards of the Liang sect's blood chi master returned to origin are all straight men of steel with muscular brains. Even the young daughter-in-law, they can be beaten to death, let alone the disciples of the blood sword sect who came to find trouble. After making enough noise, they trampled on them one by one like mad cows, trampling on them crazily. Dozens of blood knife sect disciples were almost powerless to fight back, and their heads were crushed one after another. The scene was once bloody. The screams were endless, kacha-kacha, watermelon bursting sounded non-stop, and the disciples of the blood knife sect uttered the last elegy of life, until calm was restored. Master sect leader, everyone in the blood knife gate has been dealt with. A temporary leader of blood chi da returned to origin staff reported to Qin Mu. Qin Mu was also not interested in watching, so he waved his hand, hang all these people at the gate of the Qin mansion. Hearing this, the steward took a deep breath and hung up the person from the blood knife gate. This kind of thing has never been done before, and he dare not do it. Sect leader is the first one. Moreover, he could clearly see that Qin Mu simply wanted to use this to stimulate the blood knife sect, so that more blood knife sect members would give away their heads. Although he also knew that this would easily lead to a big battle between the Liang sect and the blood knife sect, but Qin Mu is the sect leader, so he has no right to say that it was right for him to do so. And, now they still have a big advantage, don't they? What's more, Shuidaman is really deceiving people too much. It is too much to plant hidden stakes for decades on the site of Liangzong. Everyone has anger, so what if the blood knife sect is strong? Anyway, it's his mother's fault. Not to mention, Qin Mu's actions are more in line with the appetite of these blood chi big return to origin managers. These people stimulated by are all excited, and they can't wait for the people from the blood sword sect to come again and fight fiercely. This is their home field, and they are afraid that the people from the blood sword sect will fail. In the depths of the Black Mountain, there is still the immortal cave that looks like a demonic beast's lair on the surface, but actually has a universe inside. As usual, these intelligence-gathering personnel of the blood knife sect were summarizing the intelligence from all over the place. Suddenly, a person yelled in panic and sat on the ground in shock. Seeing this, the person next to him was curious, so he couldn't help but picked up the note and read it. The mission failed, the wolves died, the wolves were hung up, and none of the wolves survived. The wolves are the disciples sent out to carry out missions, all of them are experts in the blood atmosphere, and there are at least dozens of them who can be called a group. Hearing this news, the entire immortal cave was shocked, and there was an uproar immediately. The little leader snatched the note in a hurry, glanced at it quickly, then his face turned pale, his legs went limp, and finally he ran to the elder immortal cave in charge of the intelligence center in a panic. Elder is bad, bad. All the disciples who performed the task died, and their bodies were all hung on the gate of the Qin Mansion Cod. The little boss rushed into Elder's immortal cave, yelling in panic. HMPH, trash. See for yourself. Elder snorted coldly, and threw a pamphlet on the little leader's face with a frosty face. This is. The little boss opened it curiously, and immediately saw the writing on it clearly. It was a detailed information about a person. I saw the words on it. Qin Mu, the only core disciple of the Liang sect, served as the deputy sect leader of the Liang sect not long ago, and was born in the Qin family in Zhongyang City. Record. Crushing Liang with the 8th stage of body forging Zhong Luoshan, the true disciple of Zhongga S. Blood Qi 7th stage. Evaluation. Heavenly talent, peerless evildoer. Cultivation base. The specifics are unknown, estimated to have broken through to the Blood Qi stage. Suggestion. The highest hunting target. A. Elder. The little boss saw his scalp numb and trembled all over. If he didn't know that this information was true, he wouldn't believe that there is such a peerless evildoer in the world, let alone that he was born in Lai Yangchen. You trash, whoever did it doesn't know anyone, so you just did it rashly. Elder cursed angrily, furious. This Qin Mu went down the mountain not long ago to visit relatives, and he went to Zhongyang City, and he killed the 5 tigers of Haishan. What's more, this kid is protected by dozens of Blood Qi realm stewards of the Blazing Sun sect, so if you send dozens of Blood Qi realm disciples, isn't that sending you to death? What a piece of crap. Little boss. He just felt that he was so wronged, isn't it you, Elder, who are in a hurry to do something? But he still disdainfully said that he is a little disciple of the Liang sect, and he kicked the steel plate now, right? Full of complaints, but dare not speak out, who calls someone an elder, and he is just a small boss. The status is disparate, an elder wants him to take the blame, but he really can't push it away. Then what should we do now? He is protected by an expert of Blood Qi who is tens of meters high, and we are afraid that we won't be able to touch him, the little boss said cautiously. Snapped. As soon as he finished speaking, Elder slapped him on the head with a slap. Fortunately, he didn't use much force, otherwise, with the terrifying power of an orthopedic master, he would have slapped his head with a slap. Trash is trash, Elder snorted coldly, and cursed angrily. Didn't you see that the information shows that he is the most advanced hunting target? Killing him is worth more than killing 10 elders of the Liang sect. And how can a treasure refining master be as easy to kill as Blood Qi? Then what do you mean, Elder? The little boss was so scolded that he didn't dare to express his opinion anymore, so he honestly asked for Elder's opinion. The elder snorted coldly, with a look of pride on his face. If you do it, you trash, of course you can't touch Qin Mu, but what if I, the elder, do it yourself? Do you want to do it yourself? The little boss was stunned when he heard it. Since the elder entered the intelligence management center of the Liang sect through the door, he only listened to him giving orders but never saw him do anything. Nonsense, if you kill this Qin Mu, it will be a great achievement, and this elder can go back, and you don't have to stay in your stupid place. If you can kill him, even if you are all dead and the intelligence center is completely wiped out, that's it. The little boss was speechless for a while. Elder, although what you said is very reasonable, but is it really okay for you to speak so bluntly? The elder of the Blood Knife sect didn't care what he was thinking, snorted coldly, waved his big hand and ordered, immediately mobilize all the people from the other 4 countries, gather all the forces, and the speed must be fast. This time, this elder will personally lead the team. 1-hit kills. Yes, elder. The little boss nodded repeatedly. To mobilize the people from the other 4 countries, this is obviously to concentrate all the strength of the Blood Sword sect on the territory of the Liang sect, just to kill the core disciple Qin Mu of the Liang sect. This is an unprecedented action. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. Seeing that the little boss left in a hurry, he summoned people, and the Blood Knife Gate elder muttered to himself, "Are you looking for some helpers? If you go to several refinement realms together, Qin Mu will definitely not be able to escape." But after thinking about it for a while, he shook his head again. It's nothing more than a Blood Qi realm disciple, even if he is a peerless evildoer, if he dies, it is the strength of Blood Chi's great return to origin, and this elder will come out personally. Will be able to catch it. Moreover, the opportunity is rare. Once other helpers are called, it will take time to arrive, and even the people of the Liang sect will be alarmed. What's more, why should I find someone to share the credit for the great credit that Ben Elder can enjoy alone? Thinking of this, the Blood Sword Elder couldn't sit still any longer, wishing he could go straight to Zhongyang City and take Qin Mu down. Qin Mu was sitting at the gate of the Qin mansion, looking like he was sitting firmly on the Daoyutai, waiting for the big fish to take the bait, while the other Blood Chi big stewards showed a serious look on their faces. There is no way, they know that this time the people of the Blood Knife sect are all wiped out, so the next time they do it, it will not be as funny as this time. I will definitely get clear information before doing anything, then the next time I come, it must be a master. The Blood Knife sect has secretly taken root in the Liang sect's territory for decades, and ghosts know how powerful they are here. Blood Chi big return to origin, that's a must. In fact, the battle between the sects and return to origin is the real story. I just don't know if there is an aperture refining realm. Generally speaking, the elders of each sect will not move lightly, except for guarding the resource points in various places, most of the rest guard the sect. As for these 2 points, a lot of aperture refinement realm elders are needed. The Blood Knife sect occupies a larger territory and has more resource points than the Fierce Sun sect, so naturally it needs more elders in the refining state to guard it. Although it is a top-ranked sect of the yellow rank, there are at most 100 elders in the aperture refinement realm, and the resource points of the Blood Knife sect are more than twice that of the Liang sect. What's more, they are still playing with other sects, hunting and killing sect true inheritance, stewards even the elders game. The front line needs more aperture realm elders to guard it, so how can there be extra elders in the refinement realm to take charge of the Fierce Sun sect's territory? What's more, what intelligence needs is secrecy, not strength. In general, none of the nearby sects has the luxury of putting an elder in charge of intelligence in an area. However, this is only generally speaking. The Blood Knife sect is full of mad dogs, and they don't do things according to common sense. Who knows if this mad dog will really create a refinement environment? Elder sits on the territory of the Liang sect. After all, you can't reason with meat dogs. Thinking of this, all the stewards felt a little guilty. Although they have experienced hundreds of battles, they have fought all the big and small battles, but at that time they were following the elder in the aperture realm, and they only needed to face opponents of the same realm, so there was no need to think so much. But this time, they didn't have the aperture refining realm elder sitting in charge. Although the seldom sect leader is a peerless evildoer, at most he has just stepped into the Blood Chi realm, and his strength is at most similar to theirs, and Blood Chi is at the level of return to origin. However, none of the stewards would think that their strength would be inferior to Qin Mu's. You must know that they have experienced countless deadly battles, and they have come out of the mountains of corpses and blood, and they have rich combat experience. And what about Qin Mu? Didn't even kill anyone. Such a person, even if their strength is comparable to them, but once faced with a life and death battle, it is not bad to be able to display 100% of their strength. Not even half a Blood Chi large return to origin. Thinking about it this way, can the pressure in the hearts of these stewards not be too great? Qin Mu didn't care about these, let alone say that his strength had already far surpassed them. The power of Qi and blood alone is 5 or 6 times that of theirs. Not to mention, he is in control, he has forged his body deep into the cells, He didn't seem to feel the dullness of the coming war at all. On the contrary, he was already thinking happily in his mind how to deal with the aftermath. It is necessary to clean up all the 5 countries and replace them with some high officials or even a royal family. But just like this, he still doesn't feel satisfied. You know, if it wasn't for him, I am afraid that the Shuidimen would not have discovered that the Shuidimen had planted hidden stakes on the site of the Liangzong for decades. Once there is trouble, these forces hidden in the Liangzong will definitely be a surprise soldier, and I don't know how much they will suffer at that time. Although he discovered it ahead of time, Qin Mu didn't forget the big loss. He had to find a way to engage in the blood knife door once before he could swallow this breath. At this moment, he is already thinking about his plan of revenge against the blood knife gate. How can it be Qin Mu's style to only show off his prestige at the door of the house? Once the Blood Knife sect members on the Liang sect's site are cleaned up, if he doesn't go to the Blood Knife sect's site to make troubles, he will not be Qin Mu anymore. The stewards would never have thought that Qin Mu was so courageous and thought so far. Seeing Qin Mu's heartless appearance, lying on the chair and sleeping happily, his heart felt even more empty and uneasy. The more Qin Mu relaxes, the more tense they become. After a few days of this, Qin Mu, who was lying on the chair, muttered, "If you calculate the time, it should be coming." As soon as these words came out, the stewards almost fainted. They were nervous, but they didn't expect that their young sect leader could not wait for the people from the Blood Sword sect to come. If all the people who come are Blood Qi Da return to origin, then it's okay. If there are those who come with Lianchao Elder, Qin Mu didn't care what they thought, and changed the subject with a smile on his face. It would be great. All the stewards looked at Qin Mu pitifully, begging for mercy. I begged Qin Mu to stop playing with them, it scared them to death. I'm not joking. Qin Mu's expression was serious, and he was about to reprimand him seriously, but before he finished speaking, his expression suddenly changed. Like a cat whose tail was stepped on, he violently picked himself up from the chair. Looking solemnly at the door of the Qin mansion, he said in a deep voice, "They're here." All the stewards were fully alert, staring at the door as if they were facing an enemy. Outside the gate of the Qin mansion, figures with blood knives quietly appeared tens of meters away, and farther away, there were more people with blood knives jumping off the roof and rushing towards them. Almost in the blink of an eye, there were already hundreds of Blood Knife sect members surrounding the Qin mansion, and the worst of them were all Blood Qi realm masters, among which more than 10 Blood Qi masters returned to origin. If so, the dozens of Blood Qi chief stewards of the Liang sect are not afraid, but it is obvious that this is not the full strength of the Blood Knife sect. Seeing that they have no principle and are still waiting, you will know. Just like that, they stood silently for half a stick of incense, and suddenly saw a Taoist figure floating in the distance. If you don't look carefully, you may mistakenly think that this person is flying over. "Welcome, Elder." All the members of the Shuidao sect raised their knives and shouted, with a terrifying momentum. Hiss. The stewards of the Liang sect all took a breath of air and felt a thump in their hearts. They looked at each other, and each of them had a wry smile and determination on their faces. Everyone was secretly cursing in their hearts. The Blood Knife sect was really a group of mad dogs, and they actually sent an elder to manage the intelligence collection work on the Liangjian site. Since when did it become so cheap? What about strategic weapons that are agreed upon and cannot be deployed easily? Fire Sun sect Qin Mu, you are still waiting here, ha ha ha, it really is a God-sent opportunity, and the heavens will give me a great contribution. Remember, whoever kills you, the elder of the Blood Knife sect will be in the blood. As soon as Mu Elder arrived, he saw that Qin Mu was still waiting in the Qin mansion, thinking that he was safe with the protection of dozens of Blood Qi masters returned to origin, can't help but laugh out loud. Even the other members of the Blood Knife sect couldn't help laughing. All of them looked at Qin Mu with sympathy and sarcasm. One after another secretly said in their hearts, "The peerless evildoer is a peerless evildoer, but it is a pity that their brains are not good, they are too naive for a long time." Facing the ridicule from the Shuidaman and the distrust from the people on his side, Qin Mu clenched his hands into fists without saying a word, twisting the strength of his whole body and the power of qi and blood into one rope. Facing the elder of the Shuidaman, Mu Shuidian just hit it with a punch. With this punch, his physical strength and the power of qi and blood are almost perfectly integrated. Horned glove. Overestimate your own strength. Mu Shuidian saw that Qin Mu was not afraid to say anything, and shot at him first. A look of anger flashed in his eyes, but there was a sneer on his face, and he snorted coldly. A clap is a clap. The existence of the refining environment has already refined the acupoints in the body, and acupoints are the huge potential stored in the human body. There is a saying that the human body has great medicine, and this medicine is the whole body acupoints. Contains terrifying potential. Every time one acupoints is refined, the strength will have a very impressive improvement. What Mu Shuidian practiced was the 12 constellation acupoint refining secret technique of Shuidao sect, which is enough to refine 12 acupoints to form a 12 constellation trend. Once the 12 constellation acupoints are penetrated, the strength will be doubled. However, it is extremely rare in the Blood Sword sect to be able to completely practice the 12 constellation secret techniques, and it can be regarded as the highest in refining. Mu Shuidian's strength is not high or low in the aperture refining realm. He has only refined the 6 apertures, but even if he has only refined the 6 apertures, his strength is far superior to those elders who have just stepped into the aperture refining realm and only refined 1 aperture. A master of orifice refinement is fine if he doesn't make a move, but when he makes a move, it is earth-shattering, and he slaps it with his palm, giving Qin Mu a feeling of facing the whole world. If it was an ordinary person, seeing this momentum, the momentum would have already been weakened by 3 points. But Qin Mu is different. The more pressure Mu Shuidian puts on him, the more it can stimulate his fighting spirit. What about the world? What about the sky? I blow up with 1 punch, the world will be smashed and the world will be smashed, and the sky will explode if it wants to be crushed. Without any hesitation, the fist was still extremely firm. There was a hint of sarcasm on Mu Shuidian's face. He seemed to have seen Qin Mu's fate of being slapped to death by his palm, and there was still a confident smile on the corner of his mouth. Puff! Fists and palms clashed, there was no earth-shattering roar, everything was so calm and calm. But it made everyone's face change, and they were surprised and uncertain. Qin Mu didn't even take a step back. On the contrary, in the eyes of everyone, Mu Shuidian, who should crush his opponent and finish the mission successfully, turned red and then pale, and moved half-step back. The existence of the aperture refining realm and the blood chi realm are facing each other head-on, yet they still retreat half-step. Everyone stared blankly and didn't come back to their senses for a long time. Blood chi big return to origin. No, you are not the blood chi big return to origin of the common people. Your blood chi power is at least 5 or 6 times that of blood chi big return to origin, and your power, how could it be so strong? Mu Shuidian looked at Qin Mu with a look of surprise and uncertainty. He tried a trick just now, and the result was far beyond his expectations. He never imagined that Qin Mu was actually stronger than him. Although this is true, it is an unacceptable fact for him. Although Qin Mu's strength is not much stronger than him, and he hasn't used his full strength yet, but this is enough positive, Qin Mu already has the ability to contend with him. Blood Chi's great return to origin realm can actually compete with the existence of refining 6 apertures, no matter how you think about it, it's incredible. For these doubts, you should ask them in the underworld after you die. Qin Mu sneered. After testing, he found that his current strength was no worse than that of the aperture refining realm, and he was completely settled. Although he was confident that he could compete against the existence of the aperture refining realm before, he had not fought against the aperture refining realm after all, and it was impossible to accurately calculate the strength of the aperture refining realm just by reading books. He even thought that as long as the strength of the aperture refining realm doesn't surpass him too much and doesn't form a crushing trend, then he will fight. Because he does not rely on his own strength to improve his combat power, and it is various martial arts that can improve his combat power the most, and it is the realm of fine-grained control. The result of the test surprised him, and also surprised him. He never expected that the power of On is even more powerful than the existence of refining 6 apertures. The existence of refining the 6 apertures, even among those refining aperture elders of the Liang sect, can already be ranked in the upper middle. Only an elder with real power can have this kind of strength. But now, he is even more powerful than the person who refines the 6 apertures. Doesn't that mean that his current strength is already higher than that of many actual school elders? Thinking of this, Qin Mu is very happy. Looking at Mu Shuidian's eyes, there was also a trace of indifference. Now that this touchstone has been used, there is no need for his existence. This time, as soon as he made a move, he attacked with all his strength, without giving anyone any chance to breathe. When he was in Liangzong, because it was a sparring session, he had to reserve a hand at that time, and he never broke out to own his full strength. Even he himself doesn't know how powerful the realm, which is controlled in a subtle way, is when it explodes with all its strength. But now, he soon knew. Once he bursts out with all his strength, he can crush Mu Shuidian, a master of refining 6 apertures. The horror of controlling the microscopic realm is slowly manifested. He was able to consume Mu Shuidian's greatest strength with the smallest strength, and more importantly, he made moves with incomparable precision. The deadly moves are all aimed at the vital parts of the human body, the movements are swift and precise, and Mu Shuidian is not embarrassed to parry again and again. Defensive everywhere, without a trace of counterattack. How about this fight? As the saying goes, if you keep it for a long time, you will lose it. After all, people are people, not computers, and they can calculate accurately. This trick miscalculated a bit, and the injuries on his body became more and more serious. Moreover, Chin Mu's attack is not a tickle, it is really terrible. What's even more frightening is that Chin Mu has too many moves, and the changes are too fast. Every move is exquisite. The kung fu of fists and kicks surpassed Mu Shuidian by a street. How to fight this? A punch hit the arm was almost useless, and the grab was aimed at the heart. Even if it was avoided, a large piece of flesh and blood was still caught. Lifting one foot on the thigh, almost kicking his leg to sell. As time went by, Mu Shuidian suffered more and more serious injuries, and his reaction became more and more sluggish. In the end, he could only guard his own vital points, and was unable to guard other parts of his body. Embarrassed, he even used the dodge move of rolling on the ground, but he still couldn't dodge the blow from Chin Mu. With a volley kick, one kick smashed towards Mu Shuidian's head. Mu Shuidian couldn't dodge it, so he could only protect his head with his hands. But Chin Mu's kick came prepared, but he just raised his arm hastily. The difference in strength was too great, a terrifying power erupted, and he kicked his arm a foot. Ah! Mu Shuidian wailed, almost rolling on the ground in pain, but Chin Mu didn't give up on the dog in the water. After landing, his footsteps flashed, and he chased after him, punching Mu Shuidian's temple. Puff! Mu Shuidian no longer had the energy to block his punch, and he didn't even have time to dodge. When Chin Mu hit this punch accurately, his head exploded like a watermelon, and the red and white ones scattered all over the ground. A majestic orifice refiner, he beats him to death. Hiss! The bystanders were stunned, gasping for breath, and didn't come back to their senses for a long time. They watched Chin Mu crush the master of the orifice refining from the beginning to the end, and finally punch the master of the orifice refining master's head. Excited, passionate. Blood Chi, who is in charge of the Liang sect's side, is in charge of Return to Origin, and the whole person is on fire, and he is so excited that he is flying. As for the members of the Blood Knife sect, they were dumbfounded and their scalps were numb. After beating them to death, they also thought that a disciple of the Liang sect, who had only been initiated for a few years, had grown to such a terrifying level, and he had cultivated to Blood Chi in a short period of time. To Origin's realm, it's nothing more than a fast cultivation speed, but the strength is still so terrifying. With the realm of Blood Chi's great return to origin, he beat the master of refining the 6 orifices, and in the end he punched the refining realm. Master hit. Looking at their Mu elder's headless corpse lying on the ground, all the members of the Shuidao sect were frightened. What are you still doing in a daze? Kill them all, remember to leave important targets behind, and force them to find out everything they know. Chin Mu looked at these 20-year-old Blood Chi boss returned to origin who looked silly. Frowning, he scolded unceremoniously. If he had reprimanded him like this before, the stewards of the Blood Chi master returned to origin might still be dissatisfied, but now that they saw him punching the head of the blood-exploding elder with their own eyes, they no longer have any dissatisfaction, but happily nodded to accept the order. Seeing Chin Mu really wanted to scold a masochist. But he doesn't care so much anymore. As the superior, the strong martial Dao, he only needs to take down the most difficult bones, and let the subordinates solve the problem. Otherwise, he has to do everything by himself, so he is still a high-ranking ass. This battle not only tested what he had learned, but also made him fight heartily, with great joy and endless aftertaste. The power of the realm, which is controlled in a subtle way, is beyond his imagination. Although he has always attached great importance to the control of his own power, but today's battle with the orifice refining master, the whole process of pressing and beating, is simply a slap, let him know that he still underestimated the power of fine-grained control. For Chin Mu, this battle was very joyful and rewarding, and he recognized the advantages and disadvantages of own. And summing up the gains and losses of a battle is always the best way to improve. The power of control, the amount of martial arts learned, the speed of reaction, the speed of changing moves. These are extremely important for a battle, especially in a life and death battle. Any mistake may result in total loss, death and death. On the contrary, if one side has the upper hand, then you can take the opportunity to break open one kuzi, accumulated his own advantages more and more, just like a snowball, until the final decision. 10 tricks will determine the winner. Qin Mu muttered to himself, immersed in his own world, summarizing the gains and losses of this battle. On weekdays, he practiced a lot, and even turned on the accelerator to practice. But practicing hard behind closed doors, how can it be compared to a life-and-death battle with real swords and guns? Even if the accelerator is turned on, it can't be compared. Another very important reason why he was able to win this battle easily was that the elder of the Blood Knife sect was too underestimating the enemy. So much so that when he found that Qin Mu was no weaker than him and wanted to go all out, Qin Mu seized the opportunity and made it impossible for him to exert his full strength. Among other things, saber technique is the most powerful in the Blood Knife sect, but because Qin Mu has always seized the opportunity and took the initiative to attack wildly, he had to defend Kong Ji's best method with all his strength, and he couldn't use it at all. A person who uses a knife but cannot draw it out, how much strength can he have left? Just because he knows this, Qin Mu is not too proud. His strength is comparable to that of the aperture refining realm, but it does not mean that he can crush the aperture refining realm. On the contrary, aperture refining realm masters are also divided into levels. Like the Mu Elder of Shuidemin, that is the lowest level of refining, and he hasn't even practiced the secrets of the 12 constellations. And Qin Mu didn't forget that, on top of the 12 horoscope secrets, there are 36 heavenly gang secrets, 72 lands and so on. He even used so many tricks to deal with Mu Elder who only refined 6 apertures. One can imagine how difficult it will be to deal with the masters in the refining realm. Of course, among the small sects of the yellow rank around the Lai Yangzong, the strongest ones have only practiced the 36 heavenly gang secrets. The strength is at most several times that of Mu Elder. But Qin Mu's gaze has never been on these little sects. What he sees are those top sect disciples, and those are the people he compares with. He doesn't even have the strength to crush these little sects. It's not enough, it's not enough. He has to continue to improve, far from the time when he stops. Seeing that Qin Mu had just finished the battle, he immediately entered into the summary and reflection of the battle, and all the stewards of the Liang sect showed admiration. In all fairness, if they blow up an aperture refining realm master with the blood chi great return to origin realm, they will have to be excited for 3 days and 3 nights before they can calm down. And what about Qin Mu? There wasn't even a hint of excitement on his face, as if what he killed was not a master of refinement but an ant. Very bland. This mentality, this level of effort. As expected of our young sect leader. All the stewards secretly thought in their hearts, and slapped the disciples of the Blood Knife sect who had lost their morale and turned to flee without any fighting spirit. Facing a group of Blood Knife sect disciples who had no fighting spirit, dozens of Blood Chi masters returned to origin were in charge, like wolves entering a flock of sheep, sweeping away in all directions. It took less than a stick of incense to deal with all the hundreds of Shuidao sect members. During the period, the battlefield was also cleaned up, and a few people who seemed to be the boss were caught alive, and entered into a tense and pleasant interrogation links. As for how they interrogated, Qin Mu didn't care. Soon, he got the information he wanted. Nodding secretly in his heart, as expected, almost all the forces of the Blood Sword sect on the Liang sect site were concentrated to deal with him this time. It can be said that in this action, he wiped out all the power of the Shuidemin, and only a few cats and dogs were left out. He naturally didn't put these cats and dogs to put in one's eyes. With a big wave of his hand, let a group of stewards take action, and clean up all the strongholds set up by the Blood Knife Gate on the Liang sect's territory. Free distribution. Naturally, he looked down on these cultivation resources. He became stronger and more courageous. He had a bold idea before, but he never dared to make up his mind. After the battle with the master of the aperture refinement realm, he felt much more at ease and decided to implement this bold idea. Immediately, he took out some of the lists obtained from the forced interrogation, and ordered the stewards, take these lists and go to the door. Those who should be killed, those who should be exterminated, even if it is the royal family, then pull him off the horse and support him with another family. Immediately afterwards, he took out another card and asked about the location and information of various strongholds in the Bleeding Knife Gate, waved his hand and said, I have more important things to do. Chapter 71. The stewards were shocked when they heard this, and they couldn't help persuading. Young sect leader, isn't it too dangerous for you to enter the territory of the Blood Knife Gate alone? The information was originally obtained by them. Now Qin Mu entrusts them with the task of cleaning up the site, and he himself goes to get the information on the location of various resource points of the Blood Knife sect. All the managers know what he is doing. The resource points of the Blood Knife Gate are rich in resources, who would not be tempted to look at them, but each resource point is guarded by refiners, and at the same time there are many Blood Chi Big Return to Origin Masters to assist. There are many who dare to pay attention, but almost none of them can successfully come back alive. Attention should Qin Mu go to the Blood Knife Door resource point, this is too dangerous. How could they not be surprised? Okay, you don't need to talk about my affairs, just to the tasks I entrusted to you. If I find out that you don't clean up well, then don't blame me for being rude. Qin Mu snorted coldly and shook his head. After cutting off the persuasion of these people, he beat them instead. Seeing this, these stewards had nothing to say one by one, and could only accept orders one after another. One by one, they took their orders and left, and soon Qin Mu's guards who were dozens of meters away from Blood Chi and returned to Origin left cleanly, leaving no one behind, only him. However, Qin Mu does not have any sense of loneliness, on the contrary, he actually has a feeling of breaking free. Although these stewards didn't have any malice towards him, and he could order them around at will, but the feeling of being stared at all the time made him very uncomfortable. Now that no one listens to him, it's as if he's broken free from a cage. Looking at the detailed location and situation of the Blood Knife Gate resource points in his hand, Qin Mu smiled. Shui Dimin has always been rich and powerful, with abundant resources. Previously, although Qin Mu wanted to make troubles in order to obtain training resources for his own cultivation, the Liang sect was obviously not the opponent of the Blood Knife sect, and he did not pay attention to the Blood Knife sect at all. But it was such a coincidence that he didn't want to trouble the Blood Knife sect, but he had already found it. One must know that he killed an Aperture Refining Realm Elder of the Blood Knife sect this time, and there are also a large number of Blood Chi Realm Masters. Even the rich and powerful Blood Knife sect will feel distressed. Coupled with the fact that all the hidden stakes that had been placed in Liangzong for decades were all pulled out by him and cleaned up, the loss would be huge. Although Shui Dimin was wrong this time, with Shui Dimin's temper, they would never swallow this tone so easily. Now that he has become an enemy, Qin Mu is naturally not afraid to make matters worse. These resource points of the Blood Knife sect are his goals. He can not only hunt down the elder of the Blood Knife sect to weaken his strength, but also plunder a large amount of cultivation resources for his own cultivation. Such a thing, why not do it? Of course, it is very dangerous to enter the Shui Dimin territory alone to make trouble, and still make a big mess. However, if you want to obtain a large amount of cultivation resources for cultivation and do not want to encounter danger, how can there be such a good thing in the world? As early as when he stepped into Martial Dao, Qin Mu had already made preparations for the road of Martial Dao, a narrow escape from death. He will never let go of any opportunity. What should be fought is still to be fought. Who told him not to enter the big sect that can easily allow him to cultivate to the peak of Martial Dao? Since there is no one, then everything has to be fought and robbed by oneself. On the entire territory of the Liang sect, a large-scale cleansing was set off, blood flowed into rivers, heads rolled, and even when the dynasty changed. Qin Mu, one person and one horse, has already left the territory of Liangzong and went straight to Shui Dimin. The Blood Knife Gate is on the west side of the Liang sect, and the bordering position is not large. There is only one fort the size of the site. The two forts, one east and one west, represent the borders of the two sects. And this fortress is not guarded by the disciples of the two sects, but by the troops of the countries they belong to, facing each other. Although it is a fortress, it is not strictly controlled. The two sects did not start a war, and the two boudoirs who belong to the two sects did not dare to lightly start the war. Pass the fortress where the Blood Knife Gate is located smoothly, and go straight to the territory of the Blood Knife Gate. After entering the territory of Shui Dimin, Qin Mu rode the 1,000 miles of Blood Dragon horse, avoiding the crowded avenues, turning to those seldom populated trails, and sometimes, in order to cover people's eyes and avoid being discovered, he even got into the forest, detour across the mountains and ridges. In this way, after half a month, he finally arrived at his destination. Standing on the top of the mountain, overlooking the valley below. This is a valley surrounded by mountains. Due to the special environment, the valley here is rich in spiritual chi, and there are even more acres of good medicine fields. Back then, the blood knife sect was also snatched from others. Since the occupation, a steady stream of medicine pills have been produced from it, supplying the blood knife sect to practice up and down, allowing the blood knife sect to rise from then on. Then, like a snowball, more and more resource points were occupied, strong players in the gate appeared continuously, and the strength of sect soared rapidly. Especially in the past 30 years, the development has been extremely rapid, and he has become a top-rank sect of the yellow rank, with hundreds of refining elders, quite a kind of dominance. Maybe if it continues like this, after the blood knife sect hundreds of thousands of years, it will become the overlord of this place, promoted to the best of the yellow rank, and it is even possible to step into the mysterious rank sect. But now, you're messing with me. Looking down at the medicine farmers who were busy in the medicine field at the foot of the mountain, Chinmu finally set his sights on the great hall that was smoldering with thick smoke. That is the pill hall, and a large amount of medicinal materials are sent into it every moment, so that medicine pills are continuously produced by the pill refining masters inside. Among them, the vast majority are qi and blood pills. What Chinmu valued was because of the qi and blood pills produced here. You must know that there are tens of thousands of acres of medicine fields here, and a large amount of medicinal materials are sent in every moment. I am afraid that the warehouse has long been full of qi and blood pills. According to the rules of Shuidaman, a batch of qi and blood pills will be sent back to sect every month of King Nuo. Now, it has been almost a month since the last time I sent it away. No matter which world you are in, what you fight is logistics life. Whoever has the most supplies and who has the most will be able to persist until the end, and the one who persists to the end is the king. If the blood knife sect is in chaos, the best way is to remove all its resource points, the guarding elder and all the pill refiners. Especially guarding the elder and pill refining division, which are non-renewable resources. As long as the number of unplugged reaches a certain level, then the blood knife sect with insufficient cultivation resources will definitely become chaotic. This is also the weakness of all sects. If anyone lacks the cultivation share of the people below, they will have opinions if there is a little less. Hitting a snake and hitting 7 inches, Chinmu wants to seize the weakness of Shuidaman and beat it to death. No mercy. In the middle of the night, dark clouds covered the brilliance of the bright moon, and the earth was so dark that you couldn't see your fingers. Chinmu, who had been sitting cross-legged on the top of the mountain, stood up. A black film was placed on his abrupt body, covering his whole body. Even his face and appearance were completely covered. From a distance, he couldn't even see his shadow arrive. The magical skill used for cultivation, passive cultivation, was abruptly used by him to achieve the effect of top-level night clothes. At this time, even if he is an existence above the refinement that has cultivated mental energy, he can see it with mental energy. It is not clear who he is. Because the black membrane on Chinmu's surface is not a real black membrane, but a devouring force, even if mental energy gets close, it will be swallowed. With this top-level, night travel clothes, for Chinmu, the next thing he has to do is easy. Concentrating all his aura, like a leaf, he floated down from the top of the mountain. From time to time, he tapped his feet lightly to let himself float up, and almost fell to the valley minister below in the blink of an eye. All the drug farmers fell asleep in the simple house next to them, and Chinmu didn't go to trouble those drug farmers, but went straight to the Great Hall. He understands the principle of capturing the thief first and capturing the king first. The closer he gets to the Great Hall, the more he controls his own power, and the super strong control that he controls in every detail prevents him from revealing the slightest murderous aura, and he can't even make any movement. Passing through kinds of outposts silently all the way, until reaching the room where Elder is guarding the resource point, Chinmu opened the door silently and entered the room. I saw an old man with a white beard sitting cross-legged on the bed with his eyes closed, and he didn't know if he was asleep or practicing hard. But no matter what it was, Chinmu didn't act rashly. All the light around him was swallowed up by him, there were no shadows, his body was still like a ghost, floating to the bedside. Stretching out his hand slowly, all his strength was accumulating, and he was in a state of bursting out all the time, without any murderous aura leaking out, not even the slightest sound of wind. Stretch out your palm, aim at the heavenly spirit guy guarding the elder of the blood knife gate, and slap it with one palm. The power erupted suddenly, the palm wind roared, and the guarding elder woke up suddenly, and it was too late to open his eyes. Boom! Chin Emu's palm slapped on his celestial cap, and the guarding elder's whole body was shocked. His eyes rolled in fright and anger, revealing his white eyes, his body slipped down like noodles, he lost his breath, and was already dead. If someone were able to peel off his skull, they would find that his brain was already in pieces. Even the brain is as rotten as tofu, it's strange to be alive. Call. Chin Mu breathed a sigh of relief. It was the first time he did this kind of thing, and he was still a little nervous, but when he saw a dignified orifice refining master, so confused and extremely aggrieved, he died under his hands, he still felt a little nervous. Unbelievable. However, he soon regained his composure. To be honest, he is the most suitable for assassin with all his abilities. Whether it's fine-grained control, or the passive cultivation that can form a black film to cover the face, it's an assassin's magic skill. Once born, twice cooked. Even the most powerful elder has been solved by him, and naturally none of the following Blood Chi realm masters can escape his clutches, and he doesn't even hide much. But precisely because of the black film on his body, he is like a ghost hiding in the dark, elusive, and no one can find him. No matter how many Blood Knife sect disciples were awakened, in the end, they all died under his clutches. Killing the last pill refining master all the way, a smile appeared on Chin Emu's face. The time to kill is over, and it's time to count the harvest. He didn't go to other places, not even the drug farmers who were trembling with fear and didn't even dare to go out the door, didn't even take a look, and went straight to the warehouse. The incomparably sharp power of chi and blood broke the big lock of the warehouse with a puff, pushed open the door of the warehouse, and what caught the eye was full of chi and blood pills. Sweeping at will, there are tens of thousands of them. As expected of the resource point of the Blood Knife sect, this is a big profit. Seeing that the chi and blood pills were piled up in the box without even putting them in the bottle, Chin Mu showed a smile on his face, took a deep breath, and it turned out to be the golden belt of murder and arson. One must know that he almost squeezed out all the pockets of the Liang sect's treasury and all the elders, and only then did he get CADB 10,000 chi and blood pills. And now, there are tens of thousands of chi and blood pills, let him take them. How can he be polite? Tens of thousands of chi and blood pills are enough to make his chi and blood power skyrocket again. Now his blood power is only 5 or 6 times that of Return to Origin. If he consumes all these tens of thousands of chi and blood pills, he can at least skyrocket to more than 10 times that of Return to Origin. Moreover, this is just a resource point, how many more? Refinement can be expected, and it's not the practice of common, but the practice of all 360 orifices in the whole body. That kind of cultivation base, just relying on cultivation base, he can crush all refining environments. Whether it is ordinary refining orifices, whether it is through the refining orifices of the 12-star officials, even a master who has opened the 36 heavenly gang acupoints, he can destroy it with a single palm. Thinking of this, Chin Mu was completely stimulated. He decided that this kind of thing must be done, and he must do it in a big way. Tens of thousands of chi and blood pills are fully filled with 2 large boxes. With Chin Mu's current strength, it is easy to hold these 2 boxes full of chi and blood pills. With a full harvest, he left the Great Hall and passed by. When I was in the medicine field, I looked at the extremely growing medicinal herbs, thought for a while, and without saying a word, put down the big box, and started to devour these medicinal herbs crazily like a cow chewing grass. Naturally, the medicinal power of medicinal herbs cannot be compared with that of Shishui pill, but the amount cannot be overshadowed by the large amount, which is 10,000 mu. It is conceivable how large the amount is, although most of them are not mature yet. But Chin Mu didn't care so much. Anyway, he has a big appetite, and his digestion power is also extremely terrifying. If so many medicinal herbs are all destroyed by him, he will also feel heartbroken, so why not enter his stomach and increase his energy and blood power? With so many medicinal herbs, even if the power of the medicine is greatly reduced, the increased power of chi and blood is still extremely impressive. It took a full hour before he pulled out all the medicinal herbs from the 10,000 mu medicine field and swallowed them into his stomach. The boiling energy and blood made him feel full. Belching, Chin Mu held up 2 boxes full of energy and blood pills, and Shishi ran away. A mess, and 10,000 acres of barren medicine fields were left behind. When it was dawn, Yao Nong, who had been terrified all night, came out of the house tremblingly, and when he saw it, he was stunned. Looking at the medicinal herbs that have been eaten all over the floor and only the roots are left, one by one is heartbroken and bleeding in the heart. Dead, dead. Suddenly, a drug farmer who was close to the great hall stumbled back, fell to the ground, and shouted in horror. Many drug farmers rushed in, only to see corpses all over the ground, and those corpses all showed panic expressions before they died, as if they had seen a ghost. All drug farmers were taken aback. "Don't move, go and report to the Lord of the Blood Knife sect." An elderly Yao Nong immediately stopped everyone, and many Yao Nong reacted immediately and nodded repeatedly. What the hell happened last night? There were more Yao Nong with bright eyes and dull eyes, muttering to himself, with a frightened expression on their faces. The members of the Shuidao sect who rushed over after hearing the news almost went crazy when they saw the scene in front of them. The 10,000-acre green medicine field that was growing extremely well had now become bare, and the side was full of medicinal herbs with only the roots of medicinal herbs left. Herbs, as for the top portion. Sorry to be devoured. There are obvious tooth marks engraved on it, and the Shuidamen who saw it gritted their teeth and made a rattling sound, and their chest was about to explode. Walking into the great hall, there were corpses of disciples of the Blood Knife sect everywhere, and each corpse had retained the terrified expression of the deceased, as if he had seen a ghost. Continue to go deeper and come to the place where the pill refining is. Hundreds of pill refining masters have all been blown out of their heads, and their bodies can no longer be seen clearly. Finally came to Guard Elder's place. Looking at the Guard Elder lying on the bed like noodles, all the disciples of Blood Sword sect were full of anger. Li Elder was killed by a sneak attack. Homicide possessed extremely brilliant sneaking skills, sneaked into Li Elder's room without a sound, and also had an extremely clever ability to restrain the breath, which can restrain the breath of the whole body. In addition, he also has super strong control, not revealing a trace of murderous intent when making a move. If not, Li Elder would not even have time to resist, his head would be crushed by a palm. Look, Li Elder's head doesn't seem to have any scars on the surface, but in fact his brain has been completely smashed to pieces. It's only possible to do it with extremely brilliant hard skills. As for the disciples and pill refining masters who died, they all saw the murderer. With the murderer's superb assassination skills, if they don't want them to find out, it's just the Blood Chi realm cultivation base, and they can't find it at all. Therefore, the murderer is definitely not afraid of the Blood Chi environment, and there are a large number of Blood Chi environments. Then we can draw a conclusion. The murderer is an extremely clever assassin. The cultivation base is at least in the aperture refinement realm. The only reason why he wanted to attack my Blood Knife sect resource point was for resources. Everything in the warehouse was wiped out. Even all the medicinal herbs that only eat grass roots show this point. A Blood Knife sect steward, who was in charge of detecting traces, analyzed it for everyone with a blank face, and finally came to a conclusion. However, we have never heard of a brilliant assassin with a cultivation base of at least the aperture refinement realm. Another manager asked with a puzzled look on his face. The steward in charge of the detective spread his hands and said flatly, "Then it's none of my business, that's my analysis." The steward laughed angrily at his haughty attitude, and was about to retort. "All right, Elder," the leader of the Blood Knife Gate, yelled sullenly and stopped the quarrel between the two. His eyes were red, his fists were clenched tightly, and there was a crackling sound, and a terrifying breath erupted, causing everyone around him to panic. Cold. It is conceivable how angry this elder was when he saw this scene. This place is the Blood Knife Gate. It was looted by people. Even if it was looted, even the medicinal herbs were wiped out. This is 10,000 acres of immature medicinal herbs, which has brought a lot to the Shuidamen. If you want to regenerate the medicinal herbs, it is impossible to restore the previous scale without a year, and there are even many medicinal herbs that need several years of work. Medicinal herbs can be replanted and replanted if they are gone. After all, they are renewable resources. Although the loss is heavy, it will not hurt the bones. What made such an elder angry was that hundreds of pill refining masters were all killed, and the guarding refining elder was extremely in charge, and even his disciples were all killed. These people are all non-renewable resources. It is self-evident how important an aperture refinement elder is. Hundreds of pill refining masters are nothing like Chinese cabbage. How much resources and effort does the Blood Knife sect have to spend to train hundreds of pill refining masters who can all chi refining blood pills? Exclamation mark. This is the real injury, even a serious injury. This is real weeding. I don't know how much hatred the murderer has with Schweidemann to do such a thing. Only I bully people, no one can bully me. No matter who he is, give me all my strength to track him down, no matter what the cost. The Blood Knife sect elder shouted coldly. The determination was so strong that everyone in the Blood Knife sect voted for it. Soon the situation of the resource point here was reported by the elder. When the news was sent back to the Blood Knife Gate was furious. Such a big loss was something that the Blood Knife sect had never suffered before, and the head of the Blood Knife sect even issued a death order and must find the murderer. An important resource point in the Blood Knife sect was wiped out, causing almost irreparable trauma. How can such a major event be hidden from people? Soon, it immediately spread to many sects around. The Blood Knife sect has always been domineering. Although many sects have no vengeance with them, most of them are very displeased with this sect. After hearing this news, all the sects in Fang Yuan's hundreds of thousands of miles were shaken, but they were not as angry as the Blood Knife sect. One by one gloating and watching a good show. Of course, this lesson also made many sects tremble. The loss of the Blood Knife sect is really terrible. Even if it was a sect battle, competing for resource points, it was not so miserable. All medicinal herbs were exterminated, and all pill refiners were killed. Just hearing these two things made the corners of the mouths of many sect executives twitch, and they cursed angrily, prodigal son. This kind of destruction purely for the sake of destruction is the most dreadful thing. Of course, there are also many people who regard the murderer who wiped out the entire resource point of the Blood Knife sect as a hero, and admire them unceasingly. And just hundreds of thousands of miles away from Fang Yuan, many sects were discussing this matter, guessing who the person who did this matter was. Qin Mu didn't know at all that he accidentally made a big news that shocked countless sects. In his opinion, how big a deal is it to destroy a resource point soon? Some people died soon. Anyway, there are so many members of the Blood Knife sect, and they are still dying. If he hadn't been busy digesting the gains he had gained since then, I'm afraid he would have already aimed his knife at the next target. Easily destroying a resource point of the Blood Knife sect brought him such a big harvest, and he has completely fallen in love with the activity of resource point hunting. After leaving that night, he flew tens of thousands of miles, and then hid in a barren mountain, hollowing out a mountainside, as his temporary immortal cave. Immediately live down. Medicinal herbs in tens of thousands of acres of medicinal fields, tens of thousands of qi and blood pills, are enough for him to practice for a long time. With so many resources, if you don't work hard to improve your strength, what are you doing all day long? Qin Mu didn't go anywhere, just stayed in his temporary immortal cave, practicing day and night. In his realm, all he needs to do is to continuously improve the power of qi and blood. As for body training, although he needs to practice, he doesn't have to work so hard, because he has already entered the level of tempering cells. How many cells are there in the human body? It is not possible to finish all the cultivation in a short time. With so many resources and time accumulated on tempering cells, the strength that can be improved is far less than that of improving cultivation base. How to choose, Qin Mu knew very well. Turn on the accelerator, 10 times faster. First, he crazily digested the medicinal power that was almost bursting his stomach due to swallowing countless medicinal herbs, and the power of qi and blood circulated crazily along the meridians all over his body. This is an overall improvement in quantity and quality. Every moment, Qin Mu could feel the progress of own, and feel that the power of own blood was rapidly becoming stronger. 247. Although aperture refining realm is mainly about refining orifices, to put it bluntly, it is to develop the huge potential hidden in acupoints, and the most direct manifestation of this potential is the skyrocketing power of qi and blood. In the final analysis, the aperture refinement realm is stronger than the blood qi realm because of the quantity and quality of energy and blood. Generally speaking, the qi and blood power of the aperture refining realm is not only much stronger than that of the blood qi realm, but also much stronger in strength. This is the real reason why the aperture refining realm is much stronger than the blood qi realm. And Qin Mu's power of qi and blood was 5 or 6 times stronger than that of common blood qi's big return to origin. Now that he has obtained so many cultivation resources, even he himself does not know how much the power of qi and blood can be improved to degree. Because his body is too strong, and his physical fitness comprehensively crushes other blood qi giants' return to origin, the power of qi and blood that can be contained is naturally far more than others. Even if it gave him the feeling before, his qi and blood power, which was 5 or 6 times greater than common blood qi return to origin, felt like a drop in the bucket in his body. And with the influx of a large number of qi and blood pills, the medicinal power was crazily digested, and the calendar of blood was flourishing. Gradually, he felt that his body seemed not so empty, and began to gradually become fuller. The days of cultivation pass extremely quickly, especially when there are a lot of cultivation resources, and when you practice with peace of mind every day, the time flies by. In the blink of an eye, a month has passed. On this day, Qin Mu received his power and turned off the accelerator. The 2 large boxes beside him, which were full of qi and blood pills, were already empty at this moment, with none of them gone. In a month, he was devoured. If someone knew that he had digested tens of thousands of qi and blood pills in a month without wasting a single ounce of potency, he would be stunned. Looking at the 2 empty boxes, Qin Mu felt uncomfortable, which made him feel like he had changed from a rich man to a pauper all of a sudden. But as soon as he felt the powerful power brought by the incomparably strong energy of his physical strength, his mood suddenly improved, and a smile appeared on his face, and he said to himself cursingly, "The ones that are spent are the ones that are spent. Money, if you can't spend it, it's a piece of waste paper, and the same is true for cultivation resources. Besides, if you run out, you can go out and grab it once. Anyway, the blood knife sect is rich and powerful, and there are many resource points, so 1 or 2 resource points are not bad." If someone from the blood knife sect heard him, he would have to blow his brains out. The blood knife sect does look rich and powerful, but don't you look at how many people the blood knife sect has raised. Hundreds of aperture refinement realms, thousands or even the terrifying tens of thousands of blood qi realms. No matter how many cultivation resources there are, it's not enough. Of course Qin Mu didn't care about this. He was here to make trouble for the Shuidaman. The more angry the Shuidaman was, the more angry he was, the happier he was. Tens of thousands of acres of medicinal herbs and tens of thousands of qi and blood pills brought about effects beyond his expectations. He conservatively estimated that the power of own qi and blood can be increased to about 10 times that of blood qi's return to origin. Who would have thought that after a month of hard training, he would frantically devour qi and blood pills day and night to increase the power of qi and blood? The power of his blood has reached 20 times that of blood qi's return to origin. And it was close to 50% before his energy and blood power reached the limit. In other words, the limit of his qi and blood power is 40 times stronger than blood qi's return to origin. This is very scary. After estimating this number, Qin Mu couldn't help grinning. There may be people who practice as fast as me, and there may be people whose realm is as strong as me. But there is absolutely no one who can practice fast and strong like me. He is very confident about this. Turn on the accelerator, drop a lot of cultivation resources, and his cultivation base still flies upwards. It's no different from the speed of a rocket. Accustomed to the crazily increasing speed of the cultivation base under the accumulation of a large amount of cultivation resources, Qin Mu was not used to the speed of cultivation base's crazily increased speed, so he immediately began to pull out the intelligence information that was forced out from the disciples of the blood knife sect. His eyes were shining, he was sharpening his knife, and he was looking for a target. This goal is a bit difficult to find. He needs a place like Blood Keaton that can help him improve his cultivation base, and he also needs to find a place that is weak and easy to attack. However, the blood knife sect is rich and powerful, and there are many resource points, so if you look hard, you can still find it. His eyes fixed on a target, called the Spirit Temple. A resource point has such a ghostly name. If Qin Mu hadn't looked for it carefully, he might have missed this resource point. Although the name is weird, but here it is very satisfying his needs. The power to guard the Spirit Temple is not strong. It is guarded by an Aperture Realm Elder, equipped with dozens of Blood Qi Da returned to origin and a large number of Blood Qi Realm disciples. As for those pill refiners in the Blood Qi environment, I'm sorry, those weak chicken pill refining masters, Qin Mu will not put them in one's eyes at all, nor will they regard them as a combat unit. The strength of guarding is not very strong, and I can eat it completely, and here can not only have a medicine field, but also a pill refining base for refining qi and blood pills on the spot, which fully meets the requirements of own. Except for the weird information about, which produces minerals but doesn't indicate what kind of minerals it is. It doesn't matter what mind he has, just choose him. Soon, Qin Mu made a decision. Immediately got up and took action. The knight owned the dragon horse, and went straight to the spirit temple. On the way, he suddenly heard many people talking about him, so he stopped curiously and listened. Only then did I realize that after he did this, he drove the Shuidemen mad with anger, and there were people everywhere searching for his clues. What made him even more speechless? Just this crap. Even the sects who are hundreds of thousands of miles away from Fang Yuan knew about it. What is the concept of Fang Yuan hundreds of thousands of miles? There can be countless countries, hundreds of sects and countless populations. All of a sudden, big news came out. But there was a hint of playfulness on Qin Mu's face. Don't you guys want to play Blood Knife Gate? Then I will play with you. A man is a strong martial Dao who runs day and night without feeling tired, and a horse is a dragon horse who can run thousands of miles in a day. The speed of one person and one horse is extremely fast, even if there are too many detours along the way. Some roads are even more difficult to walk, but in only 3 days, Qin Mu rushed to the spirit temple marked on the map. Seeing the desolation in front of him, all barren hills, where not a single blade of grass grows, Qin Mu was speechless at once. He really doubted how this spiritual temple could become the resource point of Shuidemen. Can spiritual qi have enough medicinal fields in such a place where the birds don't shit? He is skeptical, but soon, his eyes shone brightly, and when things went wrong, he was a monster. The surrounding environment was so unharmonious that it didn't look like it could produce a medicine field at all, so there must be a secret in it. You know, the most basic condition for a medicinal field is that there is enough spiritual qi in the field. If there is no spiritual qi, there is simply no way to support so many medicinal herbs. In other words, the medicine field is a paradise for practitioners. However, the spiritual qi in the medicine field can only be used to grow medicinal herbs, and it is extremely difficult for practitioners to cultivate. However, if the medicinal fields where medicinal herbs can be planted are located, they must be lush and lush with green trees. After all, those weeds and big trees are better than medicinal herbs. If there is a medicine field in this spirit temple, then it has no secrets, and Qin Mu dares to wring his own head off. Secret. These 2 words represent income and the meaning of making a fortune. Qin Mu suddenly became interested. Originally, he wanted to observe casually. One night, he went straight to the spirit temple and looted it. But now, he suddenly felt that he was too reckless to do so. Although with his current strength, even if he faced a master of refining the acupoints of the 12-star officials, he still had the confidence to blow him up. If you can reduce trouble, you can reduce trouble, right? There is nothing wrong with being cautious. This is a martial Dao world. There are too many strange things. Who knows where there will be something that can threaten his life. Arrogance is bad, bad. Muttering to himself, Qin Mu calmed down and immediately opened an immortal cave in a barren mountain not far from the spirit temple. With the strength and sharpness of his current qi and blood, cutting stones is as easy as tofu, and it is too easy to hollow out the belly of a mountain. Lock the blood dragon horse in this temporary immortal cave, and hide it outside. On the surface, it looks no different from the common barren mountain cave. Of course, the immortal cave was only sealed by Qin Mu himself. In the eyes of others, this is just a relatively spacious cave with nothing in it. When night fell, Qin Mu was covered with a black film, which merged with the darkness. He couldn't see his face or even his figure clearly. Like a ghost, he floated towards the spirit temple. His movements are light, but he can float far away with a light leap. In the blink of an eye, the spirit temple appears in front of him. Looking from a distance, the spirit temple was brightly lit, and there were many patrols holding torches. The interval between patrols was very short, and the guards were so strict that Qin Mu couldn't help but feel emotional. He didn't know if it was because after he killed a resource point, the blood knife gate was strictly guarded, or it was like this here, and the information he got was wrong. But when I thought about it, the information was obtained by those in charge, and it was proved before that the information was correct. There was a flash of light in Qin Mu's eyes, but because of the black film covering his body, there was no light at all. After careful observation, he found that the information he had about the spirit temple was wrong. Because the number of people is very different. The number of blood chi masters has almost doubled, and the number of blood chi masters returned to origin is the same. There are almost 100 people, and the elders of the refinement state have also reached 2. The power guarding here is twice as much as the intelligence shows. He would not think that when he was pressuring for information, the disciple of the Shui Demon made false information and set a trap. On the contrary, he believed that the disciple of the Blood Knife sect had limited authority and was completely concealed. There was still a power hidden in the spirit temple that was the same as that on the surface. As for the Blood Knife Gate's defense, because he destroyed a resource point, it is also possible, but it is absolutely impossible to double its strength. Then rule out all the impossibilities, and there is only one possibility left. There is really a big secret here. Thinking of this, Qin Mu couldn't hold back anymore, and continued to approach the spirit temple. Just as he was approaching the spirit temple, he stopped abruptly. After feeling it carefully, he took another step back, and carefully I feel average. Suddenly, he laughed. If he hadn't completely controlled the power of his own, and controlled it down to the minute, he would have noticed any subtle changes in contact with the skin immediately. I'm afraid he really wouldn't have discovered the secret here. There is an invisible barrier here. This enchantment is very weak. It is not defensive, but it can prevent the spiritual chi here from leaking out. It is like a transparent cover that can be restored at any time. This cover is very fragile, so fragile that people will not feel anything when it is broken. But no matter how fragile the cover is, it can still hold air. Interesting, interesting. Qin Mu couldn't help grinning. A tall thing like enchantment, no matter how fragile an enchantment is, it's not something that a yellow rank sect like Shui Demon can have. Coupled with the various unusual places he discovered before, he can be sure that this spirit temple might really be a spirit temple. It sounds contradictory, but it is actually very simple. This spirit temple is an ancient relic. The history that can be traced does not know how many 10,000 years have passed. After all, before the rise of human beings, there were traces of gods. After the rise of human beings, there is no trace of gods anymore. Qin Mu has reason to suspect that all these gods have been captured and sliced by humans for research, and turned into nutrients for the powerful martial Dao system today. Of course, he should stop thinking about good things. After all, the Blood Knife sect has secretly occupied this place for so long. If there are any good things, they have already been emptied. However, even if the good things are gone, the remaining things are more precious than any resource point of the Blood Knife sect. Otherwise, why would the Blood Knife sect attach so much importance to this place and send so many people to guard it? Perhaps, this is a chance. Qin Mu murmured. He would not think that he was here to grab something, he would only think that this was a chance sent to him by the heavens. Whether he can grasp it depends on him. Since the opportunity was given to me, why hesitate? Steal his mother. Qin Mu said viciously in his heart. His eyes revealed a fierce light. His body was like a ghost, and he evaded many patrols and entered the spirit temple. Keep an eye on me. You must have heard that a mysterious assassin appeared, and he wiped out one of our resource points. No matter how deep-sea blood feud he has with our Blood Knife sect, anyway, the Blood Knife sect will not let him go. Presumably this person will not only attack one of our resource points, but will definitely attack other resource points. You all know a thing or two about the importance of the spirit temple, and there must be no problems here. If anyone doesn't pay attention, I will not spare you lightly. In the middle of the night, Elder, a guardian of the Blood Knife Gate, was still worried, looked around, and then emphasized to the patrolling disciples with a serious face. A resource point of the Shuidao sect was wiped out, and the whole sect was furious. Whether this matter was already a secret in the spirit temple, these patrolling disciples nodded and patted their chests to assure. Only then did Elder nodded reassuringly, and returned to the hall. He was not assured of the guarantee of these patrolling disciples, but rest assured that he had checked himself. He believed that no one could hide from his fiery eyes. But he didn't know that in the darkness not far away from him, a pair of eyes had already seen his every move. Qin Mu who merged into the darkness, if he stood still, no one would notice. Although he is not invisible, the effect of the black film on his body in the middle of the night is comparable to invisibility. The guards are tight, Qin Mu murmured, with a hint of sarcasm on his face. Perhaps for others, the guards of this spirit temple are extremely strict, and it is extremely difficult to get in at night. In fact, the assassination and sneak attack rely on the lax defense of others and lack of vigilance. Once the assassinated person is heavily guarded and full of vigilance, it is very difficult to assassinate at this time. It can almost be said to be an impossible task. Of course, this is for others. For Chin Mu, this spiritual temple is heavily guarded, but just like his home, he can go in and out freely and go anywhere. Did not feel any pressure. Walking into the spirit temple, looking around, I found that the spirit temple is a huge cave. Inside this cave, there is a temple with a huge stone statue standing on it, but it is already dilapidated. Obviously, I don't know how long it has been dilapidated. Chin Mu didn't care either. After finding that there was nothing threatening his life in the entire spiritual temple, he decided to start doing it. Although there are 2 Aperture Refining Realm guards, and they still live in the same room, they are obviously very vigilant, which is a bit troublesome. But it's just a hassle. Now with Chin Mu's strength and ordinary refining state, he can no longer put in one's eyes. What's more, he was still preparing to sneak attack. The right time, place and people are all on him, so what else is he afraid of? If he said to do it, he would do it, capture the thief first, capture the king, and kill the 2 guarding elders. Then the whole spirit temple, he didn't do whatever he wanted. Who can stop him? Immediately, he went straight to the room where the 2 guardian elders were, and listened outside the door for a long time, until there was no sound, and the entire spirit temple fell silent, only the sound of patrolling disciples yawning and walking past. Chin Mu moved. He opened the window silently, turned over and entered. His movements were as light as a cat, without making a sound. Looking at the elder sitting on the bed with 2 lotus positions, he randomly found a target, went straight to it, pointed at its sky cap, and clapped it with a palm. Condensing breath, not letting go of murderous aura, killing him with 1 blow. This is not the first time he has done this, and it is naturally very skillful, extremely smooth, without any twists and turns. Puff. A palm slapped on the spirit cap of a blood knife sect refinement elder, and a refinement existed, smashed his head alive, and slapped him to death. However, there was a crisp sound. If there is only this elder refining the body in this room, then naturally nothing will happen, even the outer sect can't hear such a slight sound. However, there was another elder here, and it was very close, and a slight sound woke him up instantly. The moment he opened his eyes, he saw the elder lying limply on the bed next to him, lifeless like noodles, his eyes closed. Immediately, he was furious and looked at the murderer. It's just that looking at it, the heart of fright and anger has disappeared for a long time, the anger is gone, and only shock is left. Because in front of him, he only saw a cloud of black mist hidden in the darkness, and he could faintly see a human figure. Even if he is a master of Aperture Refining Realm, he has never seen such a scene. Are you a human or a ghost? The awakened elder asked with a surprised face. Chin Mu, who was hiding in the darkness, didn't speak at all, and didn't bother to speak. It's just a dead person, what's the point of talking so much with him? If there were 2 mastery elders, it might still cause him a lot of trouble, but with only 1 mastery elder left, what kind of waves would it cause? In his eyes, this is simply a dead person. A dead person is not worthy for him to speak at all, and he directly strikes, and the hand that has not been retracted directly turns into a palm but not a claw, and grabs the orifice elder at the side. Bold. Seeing the person in the black mist because of this, the elder of the blood knife sect directly attacked him without saying a word. He was shocked and angry. Who is he? He is the refining elder of the blood knife sect, and he is still the one with real power, with a high status, who is not polite to him. Now that he suddenly saw someone kill him, and before he could react for a while, the anger in his heart had already filled his chest, and he almost exploded with anger. Dodging attacks has almost become his instinct. Seeing Chin Mu grabbing him, he moved to the side to avoid Chin Mu's grabbing. Just as he was about to turn around immediately and strike back, he didn't expect that Chin Mu's reaction speed was faster than him. Seeing that one move missed, he made another move. He is not like other people. After punching, he has to retract his fist, accumulating energy to punch. He didn't need any energy to change his moves at all. Clenching his claws into a fist, the elder punched the blood knife door lying on the bed. Chin Mu changed his moves too fast, so fast that people almost couldn't react, but it was better than Shuidim and Lianchao Elder. Seeing that this punch couldn't be carried, he exerted all his strength and pushed out of the bed, and unexpectedly rolled off the bed. Chin Mu's punch was fast and fierce, and before he could take it back, he smashed the big bed with one punch, sending sawdust flying everywhere. It will take some time to think about punching again. At that time, it will definitely give the elder of the Shuidim the ability to fight back. Fortunately, what he knows is not only the kung fu of the hands, but also the kung fu of his feet. Just a kick. The power of this kick was so powerful that the air was kicked and a roaring sonic boom erupted. Boom. After dodging 2 moves in a row, the third move was Chin Mu's kick. The elder of the blood knife gate couldn't dodge it no matter what. He covered his head with both hands, and the energy and blood of his whole body protected his whole body like a shield, and defended with all his strength. It's just that the terrifying power was beyond his imagination, and he was kicked away with one kick. Before he hit the wall, the terrifying power erupted from his body, and his body suddenly exploded, torn apart, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. He never dreamed that he was a majestic orifice refining master, but was kicked by Chin Mu. Kicking out a master who had opened at least 8 orifices with one kick, even Chin Mu was startled. But when he thought about it, he expected it to be a sneak attack, to seize the opportunity, and to make a deadly move, especially the last kick, which poured all his strength into it, which was so powerful that even Chin Mu it's hard to predict. And what about the opponent? He was passive everywhere, and in the end he had no power to fight back, and was forced to defend with all his strength. It's just that he used his arms to protect his brain, but he couldn't protect his waist. Not only did Chin Mu pour all his strength into this kick, but also because of his meticulous control and restrained strength, all of it blasted into his body and exploded. This explosion is like an explosion. How can a mere human body block it? Even with Chin Mu's powerful body, he didn't dare to allow people to penetrate his body with strength. Although his skin and bones are strong, it doesn't mean that his internal organs are also so strong. Even if the cells are tempered, it is difficult for all the cells to reach the level of toughness comparable to copper and iron in a short period of time. It was extremely easy to deal with the 2 elders guarding the spirit temple, and the highest combat power was released. The entire spirit temple, didn't he do whatever he wanted? Just relying on those blood chi masters returned to origin, can blood chi realm master stop himself? What he is not afraid of the most is being besieged by people whose strength is lower than his own. Maybe other masters of orifice refining are also afraid that their hands will be hard to beat with their 4 feet, but he is not afraid. Powerful strength, super resilience, skin and bones comparable to an impregnable wall, this gives him the confidence to fall into a protracted battle, and even those who fight hard can persevere until the end. Of course, self-confidence belongs to self-confidence, and it is impossible for Chin Mu to directly expose his identity, wake up everyone and let them beat him up. That would be too much trouble. There are so many people, won't they run away if they can't be beaten? Thousands of people flee for their lives, but he only has one person. How many can he kill? Killing is also skillful, not reckless killing. Chin Mu has always thought that he is a person with brains, so no matter what he does, he will use his brains diligently. Leaving out of Elder's room, he still blended himself into the darkness. He was as flexible as a civet cat, jumping and moving in the darkness. If someone saw him, he would think he was a dark creature even if he was not fooling around. Unknowingly, he sneaked into the back of the patrol team. The power of Qi and blood CACG was like a sharp sword, aiming at the temple on the head of the disciple of the blood knife sect in front of him. With a light stab, it penetrated instantly. His head didn't even have time to scream. When Chin Mu started, he didn't make a sound, didn't say anything, didn't even reveal the slightest bit of murderous intent. Even a master of orifice refinement couldn't detect it. How could a mere disciple of the blood chi realm discover it? Such a routine, going back and forth, with almost no effort. A small patrol team was killed by him and only the last person remained. It's late at night, it's so dark, and there's no sound at all. It's really hard. The patrolling disciple of the blood knife sect who was walking in the front held a torch, looking at the darkness ahead. He couldn't help muttering, but for a long time he didn't hear the answer, so there was anger on his face. He turned his head and scolded, "Hey, you are all dumb." Turning his head around, he saw a group of black figures standing behind him. Like a ghost, he trembled in fright. and what made him even more frightening was that the light from the torch in his hand was actually swallowed by the black figures. It was amazing to see. He was horrified. Are you dumb? After finishing what he hadn't said in a trembling voice, his face was full of horror. He rolled his eyes, and suddenly he fell back, losing his breath. Impressively scared to death, Chin Mu put down the hand he just raised, looked at the blood knife disciple who was scared to death with a speechless expression, and muttered, "Am I so scary?" He has also looked in the mirror. Although his appearance is indeed a little scary, but at least it is a little scarier than the black uncle, right? How can there be such an exaggeration to directly scare people to death? He was very dissatisfied, but he didn't reflect on himself at all. How scary it would be to come out in this image in the middle of the dark and windy night. In particular, this is still unknown 10,000 years ago in the ancient ruins, the Spirit Temple. In this kind of place, all kinds of monsters and ghosts may appear. Dissatisfaction is dissatisfaction. Not having to do it yourself, saving energy. Chin Mu is still a little happy. As soon as school starts, he immediately went to search for the patrol team of other Blood Knife sect disciples. Without even the time for half a stick of incense, all the patrols were killed by him. Everyone was completely unconscious, was pierced through the head, and died instantly, without even a puzzled expression on their faces. After killing the patrol team, Chin Mu immediately went to kill the sleeping Shuidemin. This kind of thing showed Chin Mu's strength. Clothed in a black film, he looked like an elf blending into the darkness. His super controlling power allowed him to strike quickly and accurately without revealing half of his murderous aura. There is no murderous intent, and they can't wake up the sleeping people at all. Even if they are very light sleepers and very vigilant people, if they react, they are still useless. Their strength is too weak, and they can only be attacked by Chin Mu. Thousands of lives were killed, killing Chin Mu all the way. Even if he had no resistance, killing Chin Mu was a bit tiring. In the end, like the previous resource point, there was not a single person left alive in the entire Spirit Temple and the Blood Knife Gate. Those who can live are drug slaves and mining slaves. In the Spirit Temple, it is no different than other resource points. Except for the pill refining master, the other workers here are all slaves. The strictness of the management is beyond appalling. In this regard, it is simply telling Chin Mu openly that there are secrets here, and there are big secrets. Unable to bear it, Chin Mu wiped away all the power of the Blood Knife Gate. He rushed into the warehouse immediately. There were mountains of medicine pills and earth-yellow stones, which made his mouth water. Holding a khaki-colored stone, Chin Mu was full of doubts. Is this the ore that Shuidemin will dig? These yellow stones are like jade, pure and flawless, deep in color, and quite beautiful, but even if Chin Mu is killed, he will not believe that these are common stones. Suddenly he thought of a possibility, and his face showed excitement. Could it be that this is the spirit stones in Legendary? These are all spirit stones with one attribute. Things like spirit stones can only be used by the existence above the refinement, and they can be directly cultivated. For the Liang sect, it is something in Legendary, and even the Liang sect doesn't have a piece of it. But at this moment, there are piles of such khaki-colored stones in front of him, as many as 1,000 pieces. It's done, it's done. With an excited expression on his face, Chin Mu collected thousands of earth attribute spirit stones and filled several large boxes, but soon he had a wry smile on his face. I can't absorption, what use is it to me? Of course he knows that if the soil attribute spirit stones are buried deep in the ground, they will soon be able to moisten the land and turn it into a high-quality medicine field. Thousands of soil attribute spirit stones can at least be used to open up tens of thousands of acres of medicine fields. But he is now in the Blood Knife sect, and this is his blessed land. For him, the Blood Knife sect has a blessed land that allows him to quickly improve his cultivation base. He didn't think about going back to Liang sect immediately. He didn't return to Liang sect, and he brought a few large boxes of spirit stones with him, which made him feel a little troubled in happiness. Grabbing a piece of spirit stones and playing with them, these spirit stones are irregular and have not been processed into standard spirit stones blocks. Some are the size of a fist, some are the size of a human head, and there are a lot of gravel, obviously just from the mine dig out. Chin Mu was a little worried, scratching her hair, thinking about how to use it with distress. Discovering low-level energy sources and unlocking energy systems. Suddenly, a mechanical voice sounded in his mind. Chin Mu was taken aback when he heard it. and then he silently recited Accelerator, opened the Accelerator interface, and saw that there was another option in the Accelerator. The name is Energy System. However, it can no longer be opened, and it is still in a gray and unusable state. In fact, the fusion of the Accelerator and his soul is equivalent to his own ability. He can call it out at any time, whether it is to display a text interface, a graphical interface, or a sound, all of which can be done. The essence is nothing. The difference. Accelerator Chin Mu knew about it, but this upgraded version of the Accelerator confuses him. Would it still automatically update the version? Chin Mu secretly thought. From the word, energy system, he thought of a lot. There is a difference between energy and energy, but the meaning is very different. Could it be that the spirit stones are low-level energy? Does that mean that there are also medium-level energy and high-level energy? Chin Mu opened his mind. It's just that the Accelerator is a program, it is not artificial intelligence, and it will not answer his questions at all. Everything has to be explored by himself. Spirit stones are recognized as low-level energy by the Accelerator, so they are naturally useful to the Accelerator, and Chin Mu naturally doesn't worry about how to use it. In a word, move everything. The entire warehouse was cleaned by him, not even a single hair was left, and he walked out with big boxes stacked 7 or 8 layers on his shoulders. When passing the statue of the Spirit Temple, he suddenly stopped, and his eyes were placed in front of the statue, a stone bead like a bright pearl. For some reason, he always had a feeling that the barrier in the Spirit Temple seemed to come from this bead. Just a little unsure, but soon, he was too lazy to worry about this problem. Since he suspected it was a treasure, he should take it away. Immediately stepped forward, stretched out his hand to take the stone statue bead off the platform. Just as the stone statue bead was taken off, there was a sound of poof, and the invisible barrier suddenly shattered and disappeared. The spiritual chi in the Spirit Temple rushed out frantically, and disappeared completely in the blink of an eye. Of course, spiritual chi has not completely disappeared, but it is countless times worse than before. It is this huge difference that makes it feel like it has disappeared. It really is a baby. Seeing this, Chin Mu was not saddened by the destructive damage to the environment of the Spirit Temple, but was about to put away the stone statue beads with a happy face. This is a treasure that can create barriers and seal spiritual chi, it is priceless. Just when he was about to put the stone statue beads into his arms, a huge suction force suddenly appeared in his hand. This kind of suction force was very familiar to him, and it only appeared when the Accelerator extracted energy. But he didn't control the Accelerator to absorb energy. But this is not the point is that what is sucked is not any plant energy, but a treasure that can create an enchantment and block spiritual chi. Once the energy is absorbed by the Accelerator, what will happen? Stop it. Chin Mu immediately became anxious and shouted. It's just that the Accelerator seems to be disconnected from him, and it's out of his control at all, absorbing the energy of the stone-like beads crazily. What's more, after the energy of the stone statue beads was absorbed, it even swallowed the beads in one gulp. Chin Mu can be quite sure of this. Although he looked like stone beads turned into white ash and scattered all over the ground. But his body is used as an energy channel, something was sucked in, he still knows this. It feels uncomfortable to watch a treasure disappear from his hands, but Chin Mu can't help it with the Accelerator. Even though he is physically strong and powerful, he still doesn't have the strength to dig out the Accelerator that is fused with his soul. Not to mention, let the Accelerator spit out the stone beads. In the end, he could only resign himself to comforting himself. Maybe this stone bead is very useful for the Accelerator. In addition to self-comfort, there is no other way. Just as he was about to pack up his things and leave, the connection with the Accelerator came back, and he immediately opened the interface of the Accelerator, and he suddenly found that the energy system showed an available status behind it. When he clicked on the energy system, he found that there was an option in it. Acceleration space. Chin Mu stared blankly, his face was full of doubts, but his hands were shaking. At this moment, he thought a lot. Open the acceleration space. He muttered silently in his heart, and gave instructions to the Accelerator. He has long seen that the Accelerator is a program, and it does things according to the rules of the program. It is not a living thing, so naturally it is not so polite. 0. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned his gaze, and a bead suddenly appeared in front of him. It was the bead that could create an enchantment, but the bead became bigger and bigger, and finally changed from a circle to a plane. It gave him the feeling as if he tumbled into the earth from space. Could it be? Chin Mu suddenly thought of something excitedly, and suddenly his vision blurred, and he appeared in a space, which was only 100 acres of land, empty, except for the soil on the ground. There was nothing. The sky was also gloomy and gray. This is the acceleration space. Naturally, Chin Mu would not think that he was teleported into this space suddenly. He knew very well that what he saw just now was actually his soul, and that bead had also become an illusion. Of course, it is an illusion to him, but to the accelerator, it is real. It has a different body. Soon Chin Mu understood everything. The stone statue bead was indeed a treasure, but creating barriers, sealing spiritual chi and so on were all its functions. In essence, it is a space seed, which forms an accelerated space, after being swallowed by an accelerator. In this space, time can be accelerated. Acceleration from 1 to 100 times. With the state of the space, the limit of acceleration will also increase, and the growth of the space is linked to Chin Mu's strength. In other words, 100 times is only the initial. For the application of acceleration space, Chin Mu's first thought was to use it for farming. Because the control interface of this space not only has 1 to 100 times acceleration options, but also energy adjustment options. What is energy? Chin Mu currently only knows that spirit stones are low-level energy, so it can naturally be regarded as the same as spiritual chi. Since energy can be adjusted, it can naturally be used for planting. Get rich, get rich. Chin Mu couldn't help shouting excitedly. I'm afraid this, speed space, will be his most important source of cultivation resources in the future. After all, if you want to go further on the road of martial Dao, it is impossible to go far by just relying on robbery. If the robbery continues like this, if they are not killed, they will be the public enemy of the world that everyone shouts and beats. The only pity for him is that this acceleration space is in his soul, and it is impossible for him to enter. 877. He saw it. Even if it was accelerated 100 times, it would not consume much energy. A piece of fist-sized earth attribute spirit stones, and at first sight it is the lowest kind, but the accelerator evaluates that it contains 100 points of low-level energy. And the acceleration space maintains 100-fold acceleration, and only a little energy is needed for an hour. 24 hours a day, it's only 24 o'clock, not even 1 spirit stones. Without saying a word, Chin Mu threw 1,000 large and small earth attribute spirit stones into the acceleration space. Although the main function of this space is acceleration, it also has another basic function, that is space. Since it is a space, it is natural to store things. Even if you don't use it for planting, but just use it as a warehouse, 100 acres of space is an extremely large space, and it is worth a lot. If you count the entire acceleration space, it is truly priceless. It is found that there is low-level energy in the acceleration space. Do you want to extract the energy? The accelerator issued the request programmatically. Extract, Chin Mu said silently in her heart. In the blink of an eye, the hill-like spirit stones piled up in the acceleration space disappeared quickly. And behind the energy system, it shows energy, 150,000 low-level energy. With the emergence of energy, behind the acceleration of martial arts and cultivation base, there is an additional acceleration option of 10 to 100 times. There is also a statement that if you want to accelerate more than 10 times, you will consume low-level energy. Chin Mu looked stunned. So you're waiting for me here. At the same time, he thought of more. Low-level energies can turn on 10-fold to 100-fold acceleration, so what about medium and high-level energies? It seems that a 1,000-fold acceleration, a 10,000-fold acceleration, is not a dream. As soon as the accelerator version was updated, his ambition was inflated countless times. But soon, his face showed a bitter face again, energy. This is not energy that can be obtained anywhere. The energy he knows so far is spirit stones, and it is still low-level energy. How rare are spirit stones? His mother's Liang sect doesn't have a piece. This time it was also a coincidence, and found that there were spirit stones in the Resource Point Spirit Temple under the Blood Knife Gate, but the search of the entire warehouse was only 1,000 yuan, only 150,000 low-level energy points. Chin Mu naturally knew how fast he would consume energy if he wanted to activate the acceleration. 150,000 low-level energy is all used for cultivation. I am afraid it will not take many days. Not to mention, to maintain 100-fold acceleration in the accelerated space requires energy, and to maintain an environment in which plants can grow in the space also requires energy. Energy, energy, energy. Thinking of this, Chin Mu has big heads. This thing is more difficult to find than the Qi and blood pill. But no matter what, whether it's his own cultivation of acceleration or maintaining the operation of the acceleration space, he needs to do everything possible to find the spirit stones. But before that, I'm still here to try 100 times faster cultivation. He is used to the 10 times practice, and he is no stranger to it. But this 100-fold acceleration, but the first time, is very fresh. Turn on 100 times acceleration. With a silent recitation in my heart, I gave instructions to the accelerator. The next moment, he was shocked. At the same time, the amount of accelerator energy storage is decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Mysterious power is enveloped, and the power of blood in the whole body grows crazily at 100 times the usual speed. The black membrane on his body suddenly swelled, and at the next moment, he turned into a black ball. This was pure darkness, a darkness from which no light could escape. In a short period of time, he could feel the power of his qi and blood soaring, and this speed could almost compare to the speed of crazily devouring qi and blood pills under 10 times the acceleration of cultivation. You know, he is in the state of passive cultivation now. This is a little scary. Without saying a word, Chin Mu immediately opened all the boxes full of qi and blood pills, grabbed them casually. Dozens of hundreds of qi and blood pills, like jelly beans, were crushed and swallowed by him. 0. Not enough, not enough. With 100 times faster cultivation, he felt the hunger of all the cells in his body, and that kind of hunger almost drove him crazy. I can't wait to lie on the ground and eat anything that contains energy. Fortunately, he didn't leave, and sat on the ground, frantically devouring qi and blood pill. Gradually, the sky revealed white dawn, the sun rose, and the sky was bright. After one night's effort, tens of thousands of qi and blood pills were finally eaten by him. He frantically practiced strong Niu Mogong. This is the cultivation technique he is most familiar with, and it is also the best body training cultivation technique he has seen so far. With 100 times the acceleration of training, he couldn't waste his body training. Although the cultivation base needs to be increased, he will never give up on body training. He hasn't cultivated the immortal body yet, so he has to cultivate the immortal body before talking about giving up body training. I practiced boxing frantically for a while, but I didn't feel tired at all, but my energy was boundless. Until, after the medicinal power of tens of thousands of qi and blood pills was swallowed up by him, he immediately stopped and accelerated his cultivation by 100 times. Although with his passive training, his progress is extremely fast under the acceleration of 100 times of training, and the power of his blood has increased considerably, but he can't afford consumption. Looking at the energy display interface, Chin Mu couldn't help scolding his mother. His grandma, it's only been 6 hours, and it has consumed 10,000 low-level energy. Seeing that there were only 140,000 low-level energy reserves left, Chin Mu felt particularly heartbroken. You must know that spirit stones are not so easy to obtain. This is a non-renewable resource. However, I feel that my physical strength has increased by 30%, and the power of qi and blood has skyrocketed from 20 times the level of qi and blood returned to origin to 30 times. The distance limit is already close to 80%. A smile appeared on his face again. Although it hurts, the flowers are really worth it. Chin Mu clenched his fists tightly, feeling his soaring strength. His eyes became a line of laughter. When Chin Mu came back from practicing, it was already 3 pulls in the sun outside. The sun was hanging high in the sky, emitting blazing heat, and the rolling heat wave hit, making people very uncomfortable. He casually glanced at the outside of the spirit temple, and was immediately taken aback. Before that, the outside of the spirit temple was barren, with no grass growing and birds not shitting. Now, just overnight, dense weeds have emerged from the ground. I'm afraid it won't be long before this place will be green. And he is the culprit of all this. The spirit temple is destroyed. Chin Mu shook his head, with no sadness or joy on his face, and he was not sad about it, even if he knew, Daomen would probably go mad with anger. An extremely important resource point has suffered irreversible and devastating damage, which cannot be tolerated by any sect. How important is a resource point? Medicinal herbs can be continuously produced from it, and then trained by pill refining masters to become medicine pill for cultivation. And these medicine pills can continuously produce strong martial Dao in batches, not too strong, Qi and blood realm are enough. A resource point represents the medicine pill, the base of the blood Qi environment, and the future master of refining orthopedics, which is the foundation of all 20 sects. But now, it has been destroyed. Even if the blood knife sect is rich and powerful, it will still be a pain in the ass, especially since there are still spirit stones produced here. Although they are few, they are extremely important to the blood knife sect, but they are still emptied. Qin Mu knew that Shuidemin was going crazy this time. Although his strength has skyrocketed, he doesn't want to face the crazy siege of tens or hundreds of master refiners. Even if he can stop it, it will exhaust him to death. Thinking of this, Qin Mu rolled his eyes. I don't do anything, and since the spirit temple has been destroyed, then the tens of thousands of acres of medicinal herbs and the spirit stones mine. Before, he was alone and couldn't bring many things, so he could only call the storeroom for attention. But now, he carries an acceleration space with him, a space of hundreds of acres, and he can pack no matter how many things there are. After all, although the ground area of space is limited, its sky is almost infinitely high. It's too dressy. This time, there is no need for Qin Mu to work hard to pull out the medicinal herbs and eat them. Now he only needs to open the acceleration space and use the power of the space to open up the tens of thousands of acres of medicinal herbs like an invisible giant mouth. Not even the soil was spared, all of it was brought into the acceleration space. Tens of thousands of acres of fields are piled up like mountains in the space, and medicinal herbs are densely crowded like weeds. If medicinal herbs were planted like this outside, they would have died out long ago. However, here is the acceleration space. If spiritual Qi is in supply, they will not die. Adding 100 times acceleration, one day is equivalent to 100 days. These medicinal herbs, which are ripe once a year, almost only need 3 or 4 days to harvest a batch. This is tens of thousands of medicinal herbs. The monthly output is tens of thousands of Qi and blood pills, and the annual output is hundreds of thousands of Qi and blood pills. Thinking that he could harvest a batch of medicinal herbs capable of refining hundreds of thousands of Qi and blood pills in 3 or 4 days, Qin Mu couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. He still underestimated the horror of accelerated space. With so many cultivation resources, he can use his strength. It seems that I have to learn the pill refining technique. It wasn't necessary before, but now when he thinks that he can get the medicine pill that can refine hundreds of thousands of Qi and blood in 3 or 4 days, he suddenly feels that it is very necessary. Anyway, with the accelerator in hand, it is really easy for him to learn the pill refining technique. What's more, in the future, he will not only need Shishui pill, but also more advanced medicine pill with stronger medicinal power. The more advanced medicine pill, the rarer and more expensive it will be. If you don't learn the pill refining technique yourself, it will be wasted. Thinking about this clearly, Qin Mu didn't do it right away, and this is not the place to do it. He scraped away all the medicine fields, leaving a large number of potholes, and Qin Mu went straight to the mine vein of the spirit temple. This is the spirit stones vein. Although the number is not large, he had no space before, and he didn't want to dig out pieces by himself. But now, with the acceleration space, no matter how many things he can hold, if he doesn't hollow out the entire mine, he won't be Qin Mu. To do something is to do it. Anyway, the people from the Blood Knife Gate are already going crazy, so it's better to make them even more crazy. Discover low energy. As soon as he walked into the mine where the Blood Knife Gate was digging the vein, the accelerator's prompt sounded, and Qin Mu didn't hesitate at all. Absorb. A terrifying suction force emerged from his hand, and the spiritual Qi contained in the spirit stone's vein was quickly swallowed by the accelerator at an extremely crazy speed. Since the accelerator has a body, its speed of devouring energy has skyrocketed by countless times. Anyway, Qin Mu didn't have to wait long, only 2 hours at most. All the spiritual Qi contained in the entire tiny spirit stone's vein was swallowed up by the accelerator. Looking at the accelerator energy display interface, it has only changed from 140,000 low-level energy to 600,000 low-level energy. Qin Mu muttered, "It's not a lot." In fact, my heart is already full of smiles. 600,000 low-level energy is enough for him to spend a long time. At the very least, it can support him to cultivate to the limit of blood chi, and break through to the refining state. Once he breaks through, it's not the common refining state, but the refining state with all 360 acupoints fully opened. How can he not be happy? Without saying a word, he turned around and left, leaving the spirit temple. If you don't leave now, wait to be swarmed and beaten by the people from the Blood Knife sect. Returning to own temporary immortal cave, riding the 1,000 miles of blood dragon horse, Qin went straight to the territory of Liang sect. Looking at the spirit temple that was quickly thrown behind him, Qin swore that the next time he came to the Blood Knife gate, he would not sneak around and just do some sneak attack on resource points. He wants to occupy the entire Blood Knife gate. He has not forgotten that there are many earth attribute spirit stones stored in the Blood Knife gate. He can do without other things, but spirit stones, this is an indispensable good thing for him. Must get. Even if you grab it. No way. Who made him need spirit stones so much? Besides, he didn't know where to get spirit stones except the Blood Knife gate. Naturally, the Blood Knife gate was listed as his top target. If the people from the Shuidiman knew what he was thinking, they would have to cry aloud because they attacked so many of our resource points and robbed us of so many cultivation resources, and now they still want to pay attention to us and the Daomen Mountain Gate. This is just too much. Qin doesn't know that he is not too much, he only knows that the winner is king. He has strength and is open-minded. In this martial Dao world, he can do whatever he wants. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.